Hey there, comic friends. I'm Travis. It's Comic Book Roundtable, and we're coming at you live from San Diego Comic-Con. And clearly it looks exactly like it does any other day that I'm here. Yay, I'm here with my good friends, Rez Reeds and Mike, Sergeant America. How's it going, people?
Great. What to do?
Another basically 2-week break. So it feels like it's been forever since I've sat and talked comic books with somebody. So very happy to be here to talk comics. We're gonna talk this week's comics. We may drift off into last week's comics too, if something we really feel like we need to talk about. So we may talk about that also. But yeah, so we flipped the imaginary coin.
Wait. You're not even going to start with the exclusive San Diego Comic-Con big announcement. Travis has signed me again to twice as much as what I make now.
Yeah.
And that was why we delayed a week. I did all the stalling tactics. I did everything. I told him I was going to another round table. But no, this time. And of course, I did say I would not do it unless Rez got as much as I did. So
yeah. Equal pay all the way across the board. Yeah. I was going to announce that at the end, but it's okay. Okay. So now
I figure we got to hook them.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Now everybody's just going to tune out. Oh, there's no reason for me to watch any longer. So we're done. But anyways, yes. So yes, happy to have you back for another year of whatever it brings us. So
yes.
We got to jump right into Marvel. Then we'll talk some Marvel books, and talk some Marvel gossip, and some Marvel news, and whatever else Marvel stuff we can. So I'll let you go ahead and start first, Mike.
The Mighty Thor. This was a good book. Not great, good. It was nice. I mean, we get back into the warfare of the many realms, and I think that's what the problem is for me. There has been a huge overarching. This is issue 21. So since we've come back, Malekith is gathering his armies. Asgard and all the other good realms are gathering their armies and trying to talk everybody into joining for this major battle. And of course, Thor keeps going through all these different side missions, if you want to play it on game terms. And I think that's the thing with me is I don't feel that I'm invested in the war because we keep getting pulled away. The last issue had her going to another realm, saving that people, and she didn't have the hammer, and she was still stuck in that universe, and now she's back here. No explanation, no real fix or anything like that. This does focus more on the war Thor, which, as I mentioned last time, our wonderful giant Warriors 3, he's picked up the hammer of the Ultimate Universe. He's battling through, which has always been interesting because I did enjoy the Ultimate Universe Thor. That is a mechanical hammer, and he had a belt that helped him fly. The whole thing was supposed to be a farce because Loki was playing with the universe. But then they kept hinting every once in a while that he was really the real Thor, so I don't know. It was a little tough for me to remember or see the connections I needed to. I'm not invested in the war Thor. And by the end, we see Jane Foster and Odin's son. Odin's carrying the sick Jane Foster because she is dying of cancer. And she knows, I touched the hammer, I'm Thor forever. I'm going to do this until I die. And that was the big conundrum. Odinson doesn't want her to do it. She's tempted by it. I don't know. I might still pick it up off the wall, but it's going off my pull list. It's no longer Dodderman art. It was good art. Valerio Schlitti is the artist on this. And it was very, there were some parts that were very enjoyable, like the Enchantress and Uluk, the troll warrior, was in this. And, there was lots of good pictures. It just wasn't enough to make me care anymore. And I think that's the point at which I'm jumping stuff off. If I don't care, I'm not spending $4 on Marvel. So as much as I love them, this is always what I banked my money on.
Right. So the Jane Foster story isn't as interesting for you anymore.
Yes.
Now that it's all basically been, exposed. I mean, because for so long it was like, who is Thor? I mean, that was a
Yeah.
storyline for quite some time and whatnot. And then once we find out who Thor is, there's this conundrum about her. So we're left with the only real conundrum is the whole, while she's Thor, her cancer is arrested, and when she reverts back from being Thor, it comes back more aggressively. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, all the human cures are eliminated, and that's the thing is Odin's son says to her, "We can use Asgardian magic," and she says, "No, that's not how I want to do this." So there is also, I don't know, I don't know what I feel about that. She could heal herself. That is a form of magic or medicine, however you want to look at it.
Sure.
She could do this, but I don't know. I don't know if she thinks she loses something if she becomes unworthy. Is her worthiness the struggle in this battle? So I wonder if that's what she's thinking. If that's what I'm supposed to get out of the book. I don't know. The bouncing in art, this giant overarching storyline, but all these other sidelines. It's just
right.
It seems to be losing the focus on where I wanted it to go.
Okay, but it doesn't feel like there's an end coming.
Yes. Because I think I don't remember. Yeah, it's the back of this one. 22 and 23. It looks like it's the same thing going on. Probably wrapping up the big war, and then 700 hits.
Right.
And
right.
That's the mighty Thor still, but I don't know that I feel that it'll be Jane. I think they're going to go back to the Odinson, but I don't know. I don't know what Marvel's doing with this, so that does create a certain sense of trepidation in me to say, do I keep investing in it, not knowing where I'm going, not knowing if they'll continue to build on her character, or
right.
Now if I got to book 3 guys, 3 Thors, I don't know that's not what I want out of my book.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
So, yeah, and that's why I can keep picking it up. There'll be plenty of issues.
Sure.
It's just not going to be on the poll.
So you can go look at it every month when it comes out to know whether you commit to it or not. Cool.
Yeah. Because I don't know what's going to happen with the artist either. I don't believe Dodderman's on this anymore. So.
Right. And that was a big draw.
Yes, that beautiful, beautiful Dodderman art. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. The only Marvel book I picked up this week was Ms. Marvel. This is issue number 20. We're further exploring. Somebody has come into New Jersey and is kind of gentrifying a large portion of New Jersey. This is a theme that's come up before in other ways. There's like this kind of like little group of odd Hydra agents who are trying to take over places, not by showing up as supervillains per se, but coming and buying out everything and then turning the neighborhoods into super expensive places to live. So the normal person basically gets priced out of living in their own town, kind of a thing. Now they've somehow usurped the mayor. The new mayor in place is one of these Hydra agents. They're basically using some little side rule to arrest anybody who is just displayed superpowers but hasn't registered. So Ms. Marvel is one of those people that hasn't registered, even though she's an Avenger of sorts. But she's not registered with New Jersey. So her brother briefly had some powers. He got exposed to a weird form of the tetragon gas that the Inhumans are exposed to, and briefly he had powers back during Secret Wars. I believe was the event that happened in, and like the neighbors have reported him. Of course, his problem is he's also Muslim American. So it's a kind of a double whammy as to why they're arresting him and kind of kicking him out of town and whatnot. We find out that some of her old associates, some of Ms. Marvel's old associates, are working for the governor. They're old associates that she ended up having a big blowout with during the Civil War event. they were all on the same team together, you know, arresting people before they did crimes. And they thought that was great. And they thought they should really be going after people hard. And Ms. Marvel was always kind of like, oh, wait a second, you know, and by the time it was all done, there was a big clash because, of course, her best friend Bruno ends up getting kind of blown up. He's crippled at the end of the whole thing. And so she really doesn't like these people, and they're perfectly fine with, you know, some collateral damage in the process of making Jersey great again. You know, kind of a thing. So it's playing on a lot of those kinds of elements. I enjoyed the issue. I like the I can't remember her name offhand. I want to say her regular name is Bridget. I can't remember what her code name is for when she's swinging her superpowers around and whatnot. I like the clash between the two of them, kind of thing, because it is interesting. Jewel Wilson does a good job of kind of writing the struggle with. These are people who I used to associate with. They're kind of my friends. You know, they're not like bitter enemies. It's not like I'm going up against, you know, some evil something or other. These are people that just kind of view the world wrong as far as I'm concerned. And how do I treat that versus, you know, clearly somebody who is, you know, evil and doing evil stuff. So interesting. I still go back and forth on the book on whether I'm going to keep getting it. And I talk about that fairly regularly here the last couple of months, I guess, about whether or not you know, I'm on or I'm off and whatnot. I'm enjoying it. I'm not being wowed like I was to start out with. And so my pull is getting smaller, not by a lot, but it is getting smaller. So I have a little room to breathe with some of these books. But I know there's some new books coming up that I want to buy, and I can't read as many books as I'm getting, quite frankly. So I got to figure out somewhere something goes. So these books that I'm kind of like, yeah, okay. Those are the books that are going to start dropping off next. So I don't know. This is one of those books that's in that kind of realm for me. I enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with it, but I'm not like, wow, this is awesome. And I'm not so super invested in the character that, you know, I'll hang on to it despite what's going on or whatever kind of thing. So I don't know.
And is that something you could always go to your shop and pick up?
Probably, I would assume, it being one of the main Marvel titles. I would guess so. I need to go back there again and just get a lay of the land as far as current titles, what's actually on the shelves. I mean, I know the X-Men, Avengers, you know, Batman, Justice League, Superman. I know those are set in there.
Yeah.
I don't know where this falls at on your comics they sell off the shelf. Do you know what I mean? My understanding is that Ms. Marvel sells really well digitally and doesn't necessarily, you know, selling gobs and gobs of physical copies. So I don't know what the little store that's in town, you know, what their buying is. And they're small enough that I don't think they could afford to, you know, set on a bunch of comics that no one's reading. So.
Well, and I know, because I got a Mega one that orders everything all the way down to Action, Boom, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then an hour from here, we have another college, and it has a store. But that's more one of those boutique ones where you mentioned you get, you know, the 10 major Marvel, the 10 major DC, and then 3 that I'm guessing the owners really enjoy and are trying to get other people to read that are independent. And so, I could see the struggle with that in some stores.
Yeah. And offhand, I can't remember seeing smaller press books on the shelves. Just trying to remember off the top of my head. I don't remember seeing anything like that. I mean, I know they get some. I know there are people with pulls, and those people with pulls are getting, you know, like Concrete Boy and stuff like that, which is, you know, not a title everybody knows. So I know they're getting some books that people are there saying, I want these, but I don't remember seeing them kick around on the shelves. Now they had some independent, creator owned type trades, because I picked up the second trade of like Harrow County, which is a Dark Horse book. So there is kind of around. Jacquio is saying in the comments that Ms. Marvel sells around 20,000, which is basically a cutting line, which it is. 20K is about the cutting line for both Marvel and DC. The way their corporate books work, if you're at that mark and below, typically you get you get cut. You'll occasionally see books hang in the 17,000 for a while, but that's only if they've got some, you know, some other secret something up their sleeve, or they're just trying to finish out something. But I know that Ms. Marvel sells tons on digitally. I mean, that's what all the creators keep saying, that they're in no concern about the book going away because of the digital sales. And of course, there's nothing anywhere that actually says what those digital sales are.
Yeah.
But I don't see why those creators would be not concerned if that wasn't accurate, because physical copies are on the bubble. You know, they'd be pimping their books a little harder if they thought that there was a concern there. Plus the fact I'm betting that Ms. Marvel probably sells reasonably decent in trades also, because then those books can get stashed with the books in bookstores and get sold there to the younger female audience, which I feel is the target audience for, you know, for the book. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's it for me for Marvel. You got any other Marvels?
No, that was it for me too.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I'm not picking up any more vanilla Marvel books for $4. So
yeah. And that price point does make it hard to just casually go and pick that up too. So Marvel news. I know it's actually quite a bit, and I don't know how much of it I can remember off the top of my head. I haven't been watching San Diego Comic-Con like a hawk. You know, I just kind of what other people are talking about. That's kind of what I've been catching.
So Captain America.
That's I would think probably the big news that most people are excited about. Captain America is coming back. 500 and is it 500?
Yeah.
86 or something, like 586 or something. I don't know what it is, what the number is, but so totally new creative team. And of course it's Mark Waid, Chris Samney, and Matt Wilson, you know, the guys that, you know, won Eisners and got all kinds of Eisner nods for Daredevil, are going to take over Captain America.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that?
I mean, after the Black Widow run, I'm more inclined to do this. So unless I pick it up and there's something funky, I'm not. I think I'm on. So
yeah. So the premise that I saw that Mark Waid said the premise was it's Captain America after all this stuff has happened, you know, the events and everything, and he's not sure what that means necessarily. So he's going out to the public to listen to the public and hear what the public has to say about what that should be. I don't know that I'm sold on that. Now, you know, I loved Black Widow. You know, both of us read the Black Widow, loved that to death. Because for me, that was clearly Samney-driven story. It was all about his art, and Waid was invested enough to help write the dialogue, and that was it. I mean, because even if you read their back matter in that final issue, it kind of talks about the fact that he's like, yeah, I didn't really care one way or the other about Black Widow. Wasn't really my cup of tea, whatever, but the rest of my team was excited to do it, so I got on it. If Captain America if I thought that it was driven by Samney and what he wants to say and the story that he visually wants to tell, and Waid was along to write more polished dialogue, I'd be on it. Otherwise, I don't know, because I am one of those crazy people that was not that excited by their Daredevil run. And there's plenty of people who will just be like, "Oh my God, how could you not read the Daredevil run?" You know, I started out on the Waid Daredevil run when it was Pablo Parvieri. I'm saying that name wrong. Was on the art to start out with. I read it clear until Sammy took over. I read it with Sammy. I love Sammy's artwork. I've got some of it, you know, original pieces hanging on my wall. Big fan. Read some of that. I just wasn't that excited about it. I get off of it. People kept talking about how awesome it was. I jumped back on it for a few issues. Maybe I picked the bad issues. Like I picked the weird issues where they like go to West Virginia and they hang out with the Monster Men for a couple issues. And I'm like, I don't care for this. I drop it again. They end up in San Francisco. I pick it up again. I drop it again. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how. Yeah, Daredevil's a character I like. Captain America is a character that I'm never that interested in reading unless somebody's doing something really intriguing with him. He's like Superman as a general rule. I'm just those all-American kind of, I'm a Kamikami. those all-American kind of, kind of cheesy in the past type characters just don't do a lot for me. Now, I know there are runs where he is not that whatsoever. I mean, I totally understand that there's the Brubaker stuff. I read some of the Rick Remender stuff. So I don't know. That's one of those kind of things I'm going to play it by ear, going to ride along. It's going to come down to, I probably will not put it on my poll. I know that'll be at the comic book store. I'll go down to the comic book store. I'll pick it up off the shelf to see that first issue and decide what the heck I want to do with it. Either that or I'll order the first issue with no intentions of ordering any of the others, just to see what the first issue is at a cheap price, and then play catch up in between it if need be. So,
all right, yeah, I can see that. I mean, I'm not going to add it to my poll, but I will look at it off the wall. So
sure. I know another creative team change that was kind of announced this round was Doctor Strange is going to get a permanent. It's been a kind of a shuffle of stuff right now. I'm getting off the book. Maybe I'll start ordering it again. My understanding is that Donny Cates is coming on Doctor Strange, and the artist for that did the Vision.
That's right. Yes.
I'm trying to remember his name. Juan. I want to say Watanabe, but I know that's not right. That's just my brain trying to put syllables together and vowels together. The guy who did the Vision, who did the Eisner Award-winning Vision, is doing the art on it. I know you're not the biggest fan of that style of art. I liked it. I'm curious now. I'm not sold on Donny Cates being like the best of the best, but I think he's got some decent ideas. So I'm in. Waltala.
All right.
Says Jacquio. WALTA.
I would respect his authority on that knowledge.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna jump back on that because I like Doctor Strange. I like the magic stuff. I just did not want to read. I didn't want to read the tied into the Empire shenanigans. I just don't want to read that. So nothing against Hopeless. I just don't want to read that.
And I am so tempted just because if you read the paybacks, he had a magician in there, Dr. Black, which was a crazy fun mockery of Doctor Strange. And that's the thing I keep wondering is because I've seen people photoshopping the two of them together with the pew pew.
Yes.
And I'm just like, oh, I mean, Donnie had some ideas, and I can't wait to see how that goes. My only worry though is he's writing that, and he's going to be writing Thanos.
Yeah.
Him and Jeff. Jeff Shaw, who was the artist for the paybacks. And that's always what made the big difference to me in most of Donny Cates' books is his artist that's with him.
Right.
Because like I mentioned, God Country, it started out that I was very excited. I got a little scared in the middle because it wasn't going where I thought it would. And then at the end, the way he wrapped it up and explained it in his narrative was so smart. And it made me almost ashamed because I had not seen all the things. Like when he says, this is not a action book. This is not a book about this. This is what this book was about. Then I can look back and I appreciate the book more. So, I mean, I do worry a little bit with him doing one or two independent books, plus 2 Marvel books, plus. So it's just
right. And he signed an exclusive with Marvel.
All right.
It's not just that he's doing those books. I mean, he signed an exclusive. So
what does that mean for Baby Teeth?
Oh, I'm sure that exclusive is basically saying that he can continue to do his the book says.
Right. So it's just not DC when they say exclusive.
That's creator-owned stuff, so he can continue with it, is my understanding, because it's his own thing. It's not owned by anybody else. He's not creating product for anybody else.
Okay, all right.
It's my guess is how that works, but I'm assuming him assigning the exclusive means that he can't now go. Clearly, can't work for DC. I'm assuming that means he can't probably go work for Boom or whoever. I mean, he probably gets
like that,
right. He probably gets the ability to finish whatever he's doing if it's something that's for one of those smaller presses. But that's my guess. That's my guess is how that works.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people are just loving, Redneck, Baby Teeth, and some of those. So I don't know if that means to expect a delay on some of those, or you've mentioned it several times. Writers can write over several different books. I mean, Colin Bunn's doing 30, 40 right now. So
right. And then and Charles Soule there for a while was literally doing 19 books a month. So
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and Kate's maybe the next Charles Soule as far as that goes, as far as being able to crank out that many books. But yeah, so I don't know, and I don't know how many of those independent books are ending too. You know what I mean? That are it's really only going to be 5 or 6 issues and that's it. So and he may already have those in the can before these books come out. Yeah, because it's still going to be a ways before these books come out, right?
Yes, to the best of my knowledge, yes.
I mean, we're talking November, at least, right? I think for most of the stuff. So I mean, that's a ways down the road. I mean, I know they did get some of a running start, but so I don't know.
So I mean, I'm tempted on the Thanos also then because of Shaw's artwork. So
and see, I have zero interest in Thanos, so I don't have any. And Donny Cates isn't enough of a draw for me to go, I'm going to check out this. I just don't care about that character, so I don't see myself.
And I've been tempted because before it was like Diodato on art and that, so I was really liking the art and everything. I just didn't want to pay $4 or $5 a comic for something that I may not be overly interested in, and art only goes so far with me too.
Yeah, and certainly Marvel has made no announcement that they are reducing the price of any of their books by any means. So, and their current sales tactic seems to be that first issue you pay even more for. You may get more pages, but you're definitely paying more also. So for sure. Other Marvel news? I'm trying to think. Now I'm drawing a blank. We've talked enough about this stuff that now I'm thinking, what else was there that was? I mean, I know they talked about. I mean, I know they did some more legacy type stuff and whatnot. I believe. I can't remember exactly what it was though. They've been slowly trickling out over the last 2 weeks. The rationales for the numbers of what what number everything is, which I find funny. The books they cherry pick. It's interesting. You're talking about, like, I don't know if we talked about it here, but we definitely talked about on Twitter about the fact that Power Man was going to now suddenly be number whatever it was, and I was saying that some of the books they were listing, does that mean Iron Fist gets to count those books too? And when they do the count for Iron Fist, he doesn't get those books, even though they're both in it. They're both in it. It's not named after one of them in particular.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, Luke Cage.
It's what they needed to justify the numbers. Yeah.
He's getting those issue numbers to fatten up how many issues there are of his title, but not of Iron Fist. I thought it was pretty funny. Oh, speaking of other Marvel things, just speaking of Iron Fist, they did greenlight a second season.
Oh my God!
Iron Fist, which of course makes a lot of people groan. New showrunner, so that may change the whole tempo of the show. Plus, Misty Knight from Luke Cage is going to be a main character in Iron Fist.
Well, that'll be good.
So I'm kind of excited about that because at the end, if you watch the Luke Cage show, at the end of that, she's got a severe arm wound. Does that mean she loses that arm and gets the cybernetic arm, and we start getting the kick-ass Misty Knight of the comic books? See, I'd like to see that. I mean, by far, Misty Knight in the Luke Cage book is in the Luke Cage show, I liked her best. She was my favorite character. Yeah. So her getting to play a big role in Iron Fist, that makes me actually kind of excited about Iron Fist now.
And when I started collecting Heroes for Hire was the series where she and Colleen Wing were in charge of it too. Yeah. So I mean that's my Heroes for Hire is those two girls. So.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know, they could be mixing some pretty cool stuff up. I know they also released yet another trailer for the Defenders. I haven't watched it. Have you seen it, Mike?
No. I mean, I've stayed away from a lot of that stuff just because I mean, they kick out so much. So
Right, right. I mean, I know for me, I know I'm going to watch it, so I tend to not
yeah,
watch previews when I know I'm going to watch it,
yeah,
kind of a thing. So, yeah. But I know they just released another one of those because that's coming right up, right?
yeah. I do know
August, isn't
that
it?
for Hulu, The Runaways, they released a trailer a little. Well, I think it got leaked early, so
Oh,
that should be coming out before too long, also.
yeah.
And I was a big fan of that series.
I keep forgetting that that's going to be a TV show. So,
I know. I don't know that I'm going to get Hulu just for that, but
well, I currently am getting Hulu to watch The Handmaid's Tale, so
all right.
so I already have it, so I
So
will.
one of the 10,000 other things to watch,
Sure.
comic book related. Yeah.
Which I don't have time for. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. No,
Thor.
I'm just flipping through here real quick to see on one of the other sites.
Okay.
It really seems DC heavy. Like there was a lot of DC information.
It did kind of feel like that. This year DC came with a better game plan than
Yep.
Marvel did as far as putting out stuff and whatnot. And I'm hoping that's not just my bias of of companies, but it did kind of seem that way for sure.
Yeah, there was a new trailer for the Inhumans. Didn't make me any more excited.
Until
then
they fix
again, I mean,
until they fix Medusa's hair, I'm yeah.
and they did show it move and like
Oh,
her grab somebody, but it's much shorter.
huh.
So
Yeah,
definitely something I could see. Rest, you should probably be on that show and explain to her what to do with her hair. So
there you go.
she
On
needs
Inhumans.
an expert opinion.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Otherwise, no, I'm blanking on anything
Okay.
else.
I can't think of anything either. And Clark, there's probably still announcing stuff as we're sitting here talking. So
Yeah.
at any rate, so move on to some DC books.
Ooh.
All right.
So Rez, you read any DC books this week?
Yep. Let's see. I read Cave Carson. That was this week, right?
Yes.
Yep. Cave Carson has Cybernetic Eye.
Yeah, that's a little bright.
Issue 10.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I felt this issue compared to other issues, this one was a little more predictable as far as a plot, especially when we have Cave Jr. make his appearance. As soon as he made his appearance, I said he's gonna betray Cave. I know it. Cave's gonna welcome him with open arms. He's gonna love him because he looks just like him, and then he's gonna betray him. And lo and behold, that's what he did. And Chloe, you could tell she had an uneasy feeling about him the whole entire time. The daughter, she's like, I don't like this dude, like whatever, mocking him, just being really bratty about him being there. And he pretty much stole his dad's eye. I kind of don't even think he's really his dad. I mean, I know he's from a different universe, like a parallel universe, but
right.
I'm trying to figure out. But the ending was the most craziest, where we actually see that they were resurrecting Mazra.
Yeah, or
like
a robotic version of her, or something like that. Because
exactly.
they end up.
His mother was who? Who is that? Because they were like, oh shit! Like everybody was like, oh shit, that's his mother. But really, his mother may have actually been Mazra as well.
Right. Because they end up meeting Magnus at the end of this, and Magnus, for those DC fans out there, he's the creator of Red Tornado. He's the creator of the Metal Men. He's super robotic guy. So clearly, that would make sense that would be where the robotic eye potentially comes from. And they need the eye. They pull the eye out. They prime it. They pull some data out of it, and then they slop it in this robot-looking version of what will be Cave Carson's wife. But they're in a different dimension. It's not. I mean, they're in dimension whatever. It's not like they're even where this whole book started out at. Kind of a thing. Now, for me, this issue, I like the art, just because it's kind of crazy and its own kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And the basic plot, I understand still what's going on, but it feels like a really confusing mess to me now. And each issue gets further confusing, where I'm just kind of reading it and going, oh, okay. and less cohesive. And I don't think as the reader I'm supposed to feel that way. Sometimes I read books, I go, oh, the writer's trying to make us uncomfortable and make us feel kind of confused and lost, so then they can hit us with something. I don't feel like that's the case here. I just think I'm getting lost for the sake of being lost. I mean, this whole tree thing they're fighting. Your favorite characters were in it, of course. Again, Rez, those giant people. They're dead now, but they're still there, and they're still aroused seeming. But the whole tree lady thing that they fight, and then it wakes up again, and then they kill it again, and I don't. That all puzzled me. Was that somebody we were supposed to know? Was that a different version of somebody that? Because they acted like they knew who she was.
Yeah, that's what I was trying. That's why I thought that maybe you knew, because I was like, "Hey, who is that?" Like, I don't know who that is. You know,
or it's somebody from last issue, and I don't remember who it was from the last issue.
That's one thing about this series that kind of, you notice how fast everything is, that you forget what happened previously. Like, I don't remember his ship, the
mobile the mobile being snagged up and tore up. Yeah,
I remember that. Do you remember that? Because I surely don't. And I was like, oh my god, I've been reading this issue from day one. I've never skipped the issue. For some reason, I am lost in the sauce on certain plot lines.
Right. So part of me kind of remembers there's something about them sacrificing the ship at the end. You know, the mobile. It's not a ship. It's their car. The last issue, but I'm not 100%. I'm thinking that I'm clearly this is a book I'm gonna have to go sit down and read again altogether. And maybe it's going to be a more friendly read in trade, you know, because you won't forget what's going on from month to month. But it's just kind of loopy enough and not attached to anything is the best way I can describe it, that I can't remember completely what's going on. I mean, I know the main premise, who they're chasing after, you know, and what they're running from, but I don't. As they're hopping, I don't realize we've moved from one dimension to a new dimension, you know, kind of a thing. It's so that it's puzzling because you're right, and I think it's because we're moving so fast, which in a lot of ways is great for a lot of comic books. Because, you know, a lot of times we complain about them being too decompressed. You know, it takes forever to get anything done in the book and whatnot. Whereas this book is moving so fast that we don't realize that, oh, we've moved into another dimension, and so there's another potential Cape Carson and all the other stuff that could possibly go on, you know, with that kind of a thing. So maybe if you're reading all at once, you would realize better that we've shifted from one thing to the next. I mean, because I know that in the last issue we had the thing with the two characters that had the over-engorged, you know, sexual organs, having their conversation, having a picnic, and we find out that Cave Carson is this like little speck. I mean, he's this tiny thing. I mean, they're giants in comparison to how big they are, and they're kind of like crash land where the picnic is going on at. So I don't think we've changed dimensions, but it's really it really is strange. And then now suddenly he's seeing his wife. I don't know, because I thought he had lost the eye. When did he get the eye back? Because for a while he didn't have the eye, and I can't even remember now how he got his eye back again. Because wasn't he missing it for a while? Because he was walking around with a bandage for a while.
Yeah.
So as much as I'm going to continue to like the book, I mean, I'm not going to drop it or anything because it's just weird enough. I'm going to keep reading it. It's lost me in a lot of parts of it. So
yeah, I'm feeling the same way. I feel like I'm reading this, but I get so lost in certain plots that it's kind of hard to reel myself back in and then feel the same feeling I felt maybe for previous issues. I'm gonna, if you know, obviously if it's a bundle, I'm gonna keep getting it, you know.
Yeah.
Eventually, but now that I'm kind of like, you know, I'm not getting bundles or anything, I'm doing everything electronically. I'm more selective on what I'm gonna spend my time with, and so it's not one of those series I feel like I have to read, if that makes sense. I mean, now that it's singled out, you know.
Yeah, and if I was more into trades, I'm not a big trade fan, to be quite honest. For me, trades typically if I've missed something, I pick it up in trade because I don't have access to back issues like a lot of other people do so much. But this is a book that I could easily see going, okay, I'm enjoying it still, but issue 10, this is a good place for me to quit reading it now and then start picking it up in trades because I think the trade's going to read easier. So I don't know. part of me thinks about doing that, but I know if I drop it, I probably won't pick it up in trade. So
yeah, I know. It's a couple of series like that for me that I know once I drop it, I'm not gonna probably see it for a while.
Right.
Trade or hardback form.
Yeah, for sure. Mike, what you got DC wise?
I picked up Aquaman number 26.
With the pretty art, huh?
Oh, I mean, that beautiful art you see on the cover is what you get inside. It's delicious. This continues also to be a great story. I think when I think back on some of the old Aquaman stories that I didn't like, Black Manta. So he's got a couple of, laser eyes, or he's got his harpoon gun, but he's not a super villain. I mean, he's just a guy who fights him. This one, it's other Atlanteans. It's even now these sub-genre people that are like mutants of the Atlanteans. So you're getting crab people and other people with mutations. Even Dolphin, who is was on the last cover, and she can do a bioluminescence that blinds people. So, it was impressive to watch him and her fight all these other Atlanteans to find this group of almost like mutants that, have all these other weird problems and stuff like that. That's what I think is great. It's become a superhero book to me, which, of course, when you get wonderful, beautiful art, I don't even care. It's one person slugging another person or throwing magic or, all this great stuff. So it's just over the top, beautiful art. The storyline is good. It's, the king of Atlantis, Wrath, who's a bad guy, is worried now that maybe this upstart who looks like the former king could interfere with his country. Meanwhile, Mera, as you can see, who's very mad, is above the Atlantis and is hitting the dome with her water magic. And they're like, she is the most powerful of her kind of people, but it should still hold up. So they're just waiting her out.
Nice.
So
nice.
It's really good. And the problem too is Aquaman is developing a very good bond, camaraderie with Dolphin, who is a female, beautiful woman.
Sure.
It will be interesting when Mera gets there to see what happens with this interaction on. I'm sure it's going to be that comic book misreading and then fighting and everybody joins together. I don't care. This is just so beautiful to me, and it's hitting all the notes I need it to be. I'm on this run for at least the full arc that Sedgwick's on it, and I'm hoping he does 2 arcs, but I'm really guessing it's going to be just one trade's worth.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I know the art looks awesome on that.
Yep.
For sure. Good. I'm glad that it's entertaining and they're finding something else to tell besides the same story over and over again. So
yeah, and
cool.
it is good. I mean, this whole Atlantis thing, I don't know. As somebody who's not an Aquaman person, I don't know how often they've explored it. But as somebody I'm a new reader. I mean, I'm hooked by it. I did read the other trades on Hoopla. It's been good. So
cool.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just not an Aquaman fan. So
hater.
Yep. Exactly.
DC hater.
Like when they'll change him to make him look like what's his name? What's the sexy
guy?
Yeah.
Oh, Jason.
Yeah. I want to make him look like him.
Well, they did bring that back to beard, though, Travis.
Yeah, so. See, so it's got that. I mean, I don't know if it's a big shaggy beard, but
not yet.
That's good. They're gonna let it grow, then that's cool. See, that's gets him. That's better. So,
all right.
Yeah, right on. My favorite DC book of the week, Super Sons, issue number 6. I just absolutely love this book. Beginning of a new arc. Superman and everybody, they've all moved to Metropolis. So living in Metropolis, they've decided that it is, they're going to let John, Superboy, go out and be Superboy. That they're not going to hold him back. He's got a curfew at 10 o'clock. He can go out and do superhero and stuff, even on a Friday night, but he has to be back by 10, and he's like, a hilarious line here. He's like, because Lois is packing him a super snacks. It's a paper bag and it says super snacks across it. She's packing him a lunch basically to take with him when he goes out superheroing. And he's like, oh, but Damien doesn't have to be back by 10 o'clock. He gets to stay out all night. And Superman's reply is, well, Damien's dad gets punched in the head 28 times a night, and something else about about concussion. So maybe that's not the wisest argument. Yeah, I guess you're right, Dad. So anyway, so they're letting him go out, to be a superhero. That Superman and Superboy have a conversation about, why is he going out? What's he doing? That he's out just to be, basically, he's out doing what he does because he's a good person. And it's a good thing to help people. He's not trying to overcomplicate things or whatever. He's just going to go out and be, superhero, Superboy. Of course, he goes out and he's meeting up with Damien. Of course, Damien is completely the opposite. Everything for Damien is super complicated. He's got these methodology and all this, ideas and whatnot. So he teams up with Damien. They're going out across the city to fight crime. And they're in Metropolis, right? They're not in Gotham. They're in Metropolis, which, everything's clean, basically. Everything's nice, except for a few ghettos or, whatever, a few slums. Everything is great. First, right off the bat, Damien jumps a jaywalker. This guy's walking his dog across the street, and he's like just going nuts. He's going to arrest him, and he's scaring the bejesus out of him. And of course, Superboy's petting the dog. He's paying attention to the dog, and then finally goes, "Dude, just chill. Hey, use the crosswalk next time." And he's leaving. He's like, we're not out here, harassing people and threatening people and whatnot. This isn't Gotham. And he's like, "Hey, I bet you that guy never jaywalks again." Kind of a thing. So there's just some great lines in it. But they end up, it's like a montage of them doing superheroics, but it's like saving cats. So it's got Superboy saving a cat from a tree and Damien standing behind him giving the barfing symbol. I mean, it's all cute stuff. It's nothing hardcore or whatnot. It's like, whatever. And they're sitting around eating their snacks and talking about things, whatever. And the Teen Titans show up and they need Robin. I guess Aqualad is new to the Teen Titans. And he's like, "Why are we picking this little kid up?" kind of a thing. And, okay, we need him for this stuff. There's some secret thing going on in Metropolis, and they're out to go and get that. And Starfire was like, "Hey, you going to invite your friend along?" And Damien's like, "No. What part of teen don't you understand?" Because John's 10 years old. So he doesn't get to be in the Teen Titans because he's not a teen. Right. Is the continued argument. So they ditched John. They end up throwing John. John ends up going home. He's kind of depressed because, of course, he wants to hang with the other super kids, and he's not allowed to, kind of thing. Damien and the Teen Titans go off on this thing looking for something. They get jumped by a bunch of supervillains. One of the supervillains is like a guy who's kind of the equivalent of the Clock King, kind of a thing. New character. I've not seen him before, but he's got kind of some of the clock. You can push the clock and stop time, kind of a thing. It seems to be kind of thing. They beat the Teen Titans up pretty good, and they use the Teen Titans as like a test because they're really just out to beat up superheroes. That's their thing. Oh. So and at the end of it, they really do a number on Damien, on Robin, just to show everybody, to let everybody know just how badass they are. They zap him in some way. You're like, "Oh no, what happened?" And then it cuts back to John's, sitting watching television. Superman's off at a meeting. Lois had to go into work. He's eating munchies or whatever in the dark. There's a knock on the window, and it's somebody saying, "Hey, John, I need your help," or whatever. He's like, "What, Dad? Who is this?" He's like, "Dad, why would you call me Dad? I'm not your dad." And it's a picture of Damien, except Damien's an old man. I mean, he's like super old geezer. Oh, so he's been aged. I mean, he literally has a beard. His hair's all gray and wizened and whatnot. So, and the other Teen Titans are all beat up. So, I love the book. It's funnier than hell. These two kids are great together. There's the perfect beats about them. The art is really great. The colorist on this thing is amazing. Just the rich colors of the wet pavement, the shining lights coming off of the tail lights on the roads. It's just really, 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 really good stuff. I just really enjoy it. It's just fun. I get a lot of fun out of it. It just has a lot of youth and joy about it that I just really, really enjoy. So,
what issue was that one?
This is issue 6.
Okay.
Beginning
I
of
was trying to think about when that goes to trade and.
Oh, okay. I would guess last issue is where it went to trade. 5 issues, because last issue would have been the end of the Amazo Kids stuff. So, yeah. But just, yeah, lots. I mean, like I said, lots of fun. I just really get a kick out of it. It's good stuff.
And now that's monthly, right?
Yes, it is.
All right.
So it's $1. So it's $1 more. You get that digital code in it if that means something to you. Yeah.
So does it make you wish it was every 2 weeks,
No.
or okay?
No, because I understand too much of a good thing somehow wrecks it, right? You know, I mean, like, you know, as we've discussed before, the whole DC with them putting out a book twice a month. I think it's hard. I mean, I think if they were going to do that, then we'd end up with new art. We'd end up with a rotating cast of artists. This has been 6 issues, the same artist all the way through it. There hasn't been a letdown, a let off, kind of a thing. No weird, fill-in issue kind of a thing. Everything seems to have flowed from one story to the next story. It's all made sense as it gone along. Also the advantage of it has the same writer writing it, that's writing Superman. So there's a continuity, at least with Superboy through both books, because Superboy plays a big role in the Superman book also. So all that stuff works really, really well. Plus the writer who's on Super Sons is the guy who wrote the last version of Batman and Robin. So he's got lots of Damian, that's kind of become his Damian is the standard Damian. Everybody else writes their Damian too, kind of a thing. So it all just works really well. So it's a solid book as far as all that goes. And I feel like that if I got it twice, that stuff would start to fall down. I think. I'm still not. I'm not sold on the twice a month. I'm clearly still getting books that come out twice a month, but I'm not sold that that's a good business model.
Okay, yeah, and I wondered about that because I remembered as we started talking about it before it came out, what we were thinking, how it was going to work. Would we enjoy it or not? And yeah, there's some books like you mentioned that when it comes out twice a week, the little things bother you twice as much.
Yeah, this is a prime example. Nightwing just. I mean, I think the quality of art becomes less as we cycle through more and more artists. Granted, we're on issue 25, which sounds like a lot of issues, right? So the idea that there have been multiple artists on this makes sense, except it just feels like we've gotten them all artists so quickly because, of course, this book's been around for a year. And in that year, we've had at least 5 artists, I would say, pencilers, not to mention all the other people who are responsible for helping do the art also. I also think that, now Tim Seeley has written 2 years equivalent, 2 years worth of Nightwing.
Yeah.
Do your ideas run out faster because it's coming out faster, kind of a thing? Or are you stretching what your idea was farther than what it originally would have been? I don't know. So I just feels like a lot of those things kind of fall into play, and I'm not really enjoying it. This is the end of this blockbuster arc kind of stuff. It sets up the blockbuster as being kind of the potentially going to be the main person that Nightwing is now going to bump into all the time. By the end of this issue, Blockbuster is in control of a casino. Blockbuster's older brother is in charge of this casino. Nightwing is working at the casino. Dick Grayson is working as the casino as a dealer now. That's his way of kind of watching Blockbuster on the side, kind of a thing. He's broken up with his girlfriend because, we can only have a girlfriend for about 6 issues and then they're gone. So to me, that sucks. That was some of the potentially more interesting part of the story with the character. So I'm done. I'm done with this. The coming up, it's gonna, for at least one issue, it's gonna tap into the metal event that's going on that I'm not reading at all. That's as good excuse as any for me to drop the book, besides the fact I get it twice a month and have been not kind of on the fence about it anyway. So all that combination of stuff is maybe decide I'm done with it. But like I said, I've been on the fence for a couple months now with Nightwing because of the double month, the double shipping stuff. So, yeah.
That was the extra size issue.
Yes, because it's 25 extra. I didn't notice that it was extra size, though. It really didn't feel like it. But.
Yeah. All right. I got a good one for you.
Okay.
Don't look directly into the camera when I do this, but here's a great digital, boom, a Comic-Con
Oh!
exclusive.
I knew you were going to get that.
Yeah, it was enjoyable. I've enjoyed these. The other two were started as a Flash, and then Flash Green Lantern, and now this one is just Green Lantern. Of course, the Colonel. Of course, you know, this is our product placement one. The Colonel has launched the Zinger into space, as we all know, and that's his idea. He's going to launch these sandwiches to all these different planets, and that's why he needs Green Lantern's help. I mean, he's got it into space, and now he's going to send all these out there, and they open up portals, and then as they get to all the planets, they're all missing from the capsules, and they're wondering what's going on, and they go to the planet that Adam Strange is in charge of, and you know, he says, you know, he does an explanation. They go to Hawkman and Hawkwoman's world, so you get a little touch of a little DC, and each one explains, well, there was some kind of energy along the red-orange spectrum. Well, of course, when you think orange, what do you think besides Travis's shirt?
Yeah.
Larfies. So
right.
It was enjoyable to see them have to battle Larfleas, talk about, you know, how they were going to do this. It was a silly book. It's 16 pages, 18 pages at most long. It was free, you know, the digital. I do know they're putting out paper copies at San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh yeah,
and that amazed me. I hope to eventually get my hands on a physical copy of some of these, but otherwise, I'm the sucker who's collecting these, at least digitally, just because of, and of course the iconic cover, as we remember, the Green Arrow shooting the Green Lantern's lantern.
Yeah, that's classic cover for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, funny stuff. Funny stuff. I knew as soon as I saw the ad for that, I'm like, oh, well, Michael told me about that. So,
Yep.
Righty, Rez, you read any other DC books?
Wildstorm.
Sweet.
Is it 6?
Yes. Issue number 6.
Yeah. I really like this issue. Like, it just keeps continuously getting good for me. Wildstorm, like, I never had any doubt at all whatsoever in Warren Ellis.
Yeah, same here.
I just love seeing these two factions, you know, one that controls most of the outer space or galaxy, and then the other control all of Earth, you know, just like war with each other. Apparently, we now found out that Miles Craven is actually, he is like the intergalactic ruler of Earth, the faction IO of Earth, while his other guy he's like the all-being ruler of
Space Overlord, yeah.
Yeah, the Space Overlord. And now that this old, bald, weird guy that's very cranky finds out that his technology was stolen from him, that was, you know, I guess made in the 70s, he's gonna wage a huge war on Miles Craven. We also see that guy who was, you know, apparently has brain cancer, you know, when he's being recruited by that one woman from another organization, we see him being recruited. Miles decides to go ahead and just kill him off.
Yeah,
he says,
IO sends some wet work guys to come and take him out, right? Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm like, this guy Miles. See, when I said I didn't like him, I don't like him even more now, because I'm like, you can't let the guy just die on his own. Like, you got to go and kill the guy, the employee that you say you're gonna help. I said, this is crazy. So this is getting really good. I mean, we also see more about not Angie, but the one Adriana, I think, is Adriana, or the one who has able to take all her body parts off. She's like an ultra being. Oh my god!
Our teleporter, yeah.
Our teleporter. I loved seeing her take her face off, take everything off.
Yeah.
Like it was just crazy. I said, "What crap?"
Yeah. Like, so she's like some, I don't know, liquid metal entity now. I mean, and she's sitting there with these little worlds, like a little rain cloud and some sort of little thing flying around her, and some, I don't know, energy of some plasma of some sort there.
Like a balance, like a balance. She's in bad, I suppose, or the bad in the bad, and we're gonna see who comes out better. But I just love that those panels revealing more about her, because she's the most intriguing character to me personally. Like, I like Angela speaking and all, but sometimes she comes off a little too whiny and confused for me. And you know, I just want her to get with the program a little bit faster, you know. But I do like her. I just like that that metal girl way more.
Yeah. Well, I guess I like. You said her name was Angie. Is that her name?
I think so.
Yeah,
Angie.
Angie Spica.
Yeah, Spica.
Yeah. So she's our character that has like that's caused the ruckus. She's the person that's tipped the balance and everything out of whack because she has this mech suit that's kind of inside of her that's like some converted med suit kind of a thing or whatever. Then she can do. I like her character. I don't mind her being, somewhat whiny and somewhat confused because she's our way for us to kind of learn. I mean, other than we need to know stuff about her, she's the focal for us to learn.
So true.
All this stuff because she doesn't to really know. I mean, other than these, they're just names. There's Skywatch, there's Io. Through her, we're getting to understand the deeper meaning behind all this stuff. So I appreciate the character for those aspects and whatnot. And I think that's going to be her role through this as we kind of roll along. She's going to be the person where we get our eyes peeled, the things peeled back for us so we can get exposed more and whatnot. So I kind of like those aspects of it. And
what about
I don't know. She's rolling with things pretty good, I think, all things considered. I mean, this little guy, I didn't realize this guy was so short.
It's always
Jake Marlowe.
I mean, very small. Like I said, goodness, he's so like you saw how much he towered over him.
I'm like, they're sitting at the table. They're sitting at the table getting ready to have some drinks, and I'm like, why the hell did they draw him like he's a midget almost or something? Because I didn't think he looked that small, but he clearly is. I mean, he clearly is.
And what do you think about her abilities too of being able to scan people like on a women? And she said something's wrong with the other girl. She said something's not right about her. So there's obviously something bad, like some kind of like secret covert double.
Well, and she said she didn't know that it was bad, just that it was different. So she scans him too, and he clearly isn't human either.
Yeah, like that was like we didn't know what he was.
Well, and the way he looks, doesn't he remind you of from Clean Room, the alien that bonds with people?
Yeah.
Yes, the demons.
I get so much of that, though. I get so much of John Davis Hunt's artistic, illustrations from Clean Room to here. It just transfers over, which could be, I guess, something someone may not like.
It's weird. I think for me, at least from my perspective, I don't know about from Mike's, but because you just kind of you look at stuff and go, "Well, that's Chloe." Oh no, then that's not Chloe. Their name is this now. I mean, there's just enough stuff that's so much exactly right. I mean, you look at like the alien, for instance, they look exactly like the demons from Clean Room. Some of the architecture, the way some of the design of some like the buildings and apparatuses, because John Davis Hunt's line work is so clean and so precise, it looks the same. Even though there's different colorists, Bocciolato's coloring this, and I don't think I think it was like Winter or something like that was coloring the other book. It just looks so much the same. It really does. Yeah. I mean, so this issue was a lot of information, kind of explain, for those of us who hadn't pieced together the Skywatch, the IO, and all that. Now it's been really kind of laid out for us. There's these warring factions. There's this kind of weird kind of peace treaty between these groups. These secret superpowers that are actually running the world, all that kind of stuff. But not a lot happens other than that in this issue necessarily. The ball doesn't move very far because we spend a third of the issue in this awesome fight scene of them trying to kill Cray, right? His name is Cray. Isn't the guy who is the hitman with the brain cancer? I love it. I mean, it reminds me of some of the same kind of action sequences that I've been seeing in Injection. In Injection, when that one guy breaks down that door and whips those guns around, shoots. It's the same, has the same kind of feel to it. So clearly, Ellis is writing that same kind of style. There was only one part in it that bothered me. The part where they're fighting and it gets down to these lots of little panels.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize that this handgun was tumbling through the air. I mean, there it looks like it's like sitting on the floor to me, but it's actually tumbling through the air for him to catch it, and shoot that one guy, and then get it and shoot that guy in the head before he could get his gun. Yeah. That sequence there confused me. I had to look at that a couple times to realize. Oh, okay,
going on there. I don't know why. I just figured it was something tropey.
Well, and I couldn't figure out why the second lady that was with him didn't shoot at all.
Well, because she's not going to get her hands dirty in that. I don't think that's her thing.
Okay.
And I
Well,
I love the fact he calls her on it. It's like,
yeah.
thanks for the help. It's like, whatever. So
Yeah.
So
Well,
as a side note about this book, Cray is getting his own comic. It's the next one that's coming out. That was announced this week, I think. Maybe it was last week. They've got the writer, they've got the artist. I'm going to be picking it up. I find the character interesting enough now. I'm curious to see what they do with a side story of his own, with his condition and whatnot, and what that ends up being like. So I'll be curious to read that. So I wasn't sure how many of the spin-offs of this I might get. But I've been reading this long enough now that I am interested in, Kim as a secondary character to tell its own story and whatnot. So I will be picking that up. But what do you think, Mike?
The fight scene, like you said, was awesome. I mean, the headshot was reminiscent of what we would see from Clean Room. When he shoots him, the one guy, the giant, you giant bastard, just died. Right. He shoots him multiple times, and the guy's like, that didn't hurt.
You're right.
I mean, yeah, it was nice to get all that, to get the little bit of discussion, and then to go right to the space station to see the results.
Yeah.
That made this issue seem to go a lot faster then because of that too.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was definitely an exciting issue for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
For sure. There's still elements that have not been addressed since the very beginning, though. We still have Voodoo, and I'm waiting for that character to show up again. They briefly had this little bit of her where she's going to do a concert or something weird like that, and she's the whole alien aspect of the thing. And I'm curious to see, are we going to get back to that? When are we going to get back to that? That's the only thing that I still question. I'm still curious as to, when are we going to get that? When am I going to see that part of the story too? So, yeah. Still totally on board with the book, though. Definitely a book I'm excited to read every month when it comes out, for sure. For sure. Alrighty. Any other ones that you guys want to talk about?
Kill or Be Killed from last week, issue number 10.
Okay, well, there's a couple of DC books I want to talk about. Let's talk about a little bit of DC stuff, and then we'll jump on that with the independent stuff, because certainly I do want to talk about that. So I read this is Batman issue number 27. More of the War of Jokes and Riddles. This is an interlude. This is a Kite Man centric issue, which I guess some people had a problem with the fact that it was a Kite Man centric issue. It's really told really well. I was even surprised Clayman does the artwork on this. I'm not a Clayman art fan. Anybody doesn't remember, the last significant work that he did most of that Poison Ivy miniseries, which I had problems with, just the way some of that panel layout and storytelling was done in that. So I wasn't excited by that aspect of it. It was fine in this. Basically, we get kind of an origin story of Kite Man. Kite Man starts out basically just being a guy who's really obsessed and really understands aeronautics and wind and all that sort of stuff. At some point in his life, he was hired to do some work on the Joker mobile to make it aerodynamic. All the other guys that worked on the thing the Joker killed, for some reason he didn't kill him. He's not going to question it too hard. He's still alive and he's happy for that. But he's not Kite Man yet. He's just a guy, who does some mechanics and some design work kind of stuff and whatnot. And Batman shows up in a bar, drags him out of the bar and threatens him because he knows that he's got a link to the Joker. Batman wants him to make a meeting with the Joker, so of course he can get a hold of the Joker, because these two guys are tearing everything apart, the Joker and the Riddler. Somehow the Riddler catches wind of that. So Kite Man, before he's Kite Man, gets stuck between Charlie Brown. His name is Charlie Brown, which is one of the reasons why I think the Joker keeps it around, because the Joker kind of thinks it's funny. It's not really funny, but it's kind of funny. That cartoon used to be funny, but it's not really funny now. But at any rate, so it's him kind of being stuck in the middle. He's stuck between the Riddler, Batman, and the Joker. They threaten his son. They threaten his life. All three of them do. Kind of threaten everybody all the way along. The guy's just kind of stuck between all this stuff. Horrible stuff's happening. His child gets poisoned. All this craziness is going on. While this stuff's going on, there's like a background of a television show of these two people having a debate on what Gotham should do about these two people warring with each other. one guy's just going, cool your jets. Batman's going to save us at some point. The other guy's like, are you nuts? Batman's not going to save us. Look how bad this is. We should just pick a side. Either pick Joker to be the winner or pick Riddler to be the winner. And the police and everybody should pick that side and just go and do that thing. And, blah, blah, blah. That's all going on in the background. But the guy's kind of driven to the edge. I mean, things have gotten so bad. They kind of drive him to be Kite Man. And he shows up literally at Joker's door dressed as Kite Man, saying we've got business or something. So I liked it. It was just interesting. It's some interesting kind of more storytelling and whatnot. I don't know yet how much it adds to the war between the two characters and whatnot, or the Batman element of it, other than just to show us what it might be like for a low level, goon stuck in the middle of this insanity. So yeah, it wasn't bad. I still enjoy it. This war of jokes and riddles has been really enjoyable. I'm really digging the whole idea of it. It's been a lot of fun, for sure. Did you get any other DC books, Mike?
Not for this week, but last week we did have Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Yes.
The death, and as you can see, I picked the Backbreaker episode issue. It's good. I mean, we saw Grundy as Batman confronted him in the Batman book with Gotham and Gotham Girl. Mm-hmm. They've had different depictions of Grundy and how smart or unintelligent he is. This was nice. I mean, Grundy is a powerhouse. To have, Red Hood with no powers, Artemis with the Wonder Woman powers, battle him, and then the savior has to be the Superman figure. And of course, Bizarro is dying from cellular decay, and he still does the sacrificial thing because he wants to be the Superman. I like that. I've been wanting so much out of this character. Once again, he hits the right notes. He made me care. To see, the battle against Grundy was just good too. I love to see him go fist to fist and all the powers, freezing his head. It was the things like that I just loved. And then, of course, to see Lex come in at the end, because, it's most likely a Lex creation. So,
mm-hmm.
I do. I just love the way this book is run. So,
yeah, it's been really enjoyable, and I really enjoyed that issue too. I like Solomon Grundy. I'm a sucker for that character as much as I am for for these later versions of Bizarro since the New 52. Basically, I've kind of liked Bizarro, and so yeah, it's been really cool. I mean, it's really cool. It gave kind of Bizarro, the kind of joke character, a quality moment. Him literally dragging, because like you said, he's literally on the table dying because as a clone, he has a shelf life and it's expiring. He's literally falling apart. And, he's like, this super hearing, he can hear Artemis and Red Hood basically getting the stuffings knocked out of them. So he, goes and saves the day, kind of a thing. I love the line where Red Hood goes, I tell you really shouldn't hit people too hard. Yeah. Okay. Go for it. Love that stuff. But yeah, so yeah, it was really good. It's been really,
and it looks like there's an overarching villain too, because somebody hired Grundy to do this.
Right.
I'm not quite sure how you hire Grundy, but it broke him out of Arkham to do this. So. Right.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, it'll be curious. I'll be curious to see what they do with Bizarro. I mean, Lex shows up. Is he gonna save him, or what's the? I mean, I hope so. It'll be sad if they take that character out. So
no, and I'm guessing I got the death of Superman feel out of this. That do the ultimate sacrifice against the ultimate, villain, and then get a redeeming out of this or a return.
So you're saying he's gonna come back with a mullet and lightning powers? Is that what you're saying?
I would go for that.
Okay.
One of the two outfits, or he'd switch maybe half blue, half red.
Sure. Awesome. Be funny. Yep. All right on. All righty. Any other books you want to talk
about? Did you want to touch on American Way here? It's a Vertigo, so I didn't know if you wanted to do that one.
Well, we'll touch on that with the independent books. Let's do that with the independent stuff.
Let's do that.
So DC news coming out of
where to start with that?
Of course, they talked a lot more about the whole metal stuff. There
Yeah.
is in the back of the DC books a list now of all the metal event and the stuff that ties in, or the one shots. There's like a half a dozen Batman type one shots that are going to be in that too. Are you getting any of that, Mike?
No.
Yeah, I'm not going to get any of it either. I'm a Batman fan, but I don't want to. I don't want to do an event book, so I'm just not doing that. But there's all kinds of announcements out of that. The big announcement that I'm excited for and apprehensive at the same time is the Terrific book. Jeff Lemire. I don't know who's on art. Oh, Ivan Reyes is on art, right? And it is the Terrifics, and it has got Mr. Terrific in it. It's got Phantom Girl in it, or Phantom Lass. Is it Phantom Girl? I think it's Phantom Girl.
Yeah, I think so.
It's got Metamorpho in it. Huge Metamorpho fan.
Yeah.
And it's got Plastic Man in it.
Yeah. Interesting.
So it's got a super smart guy in it. It's got a guy that can turn into rocks. It's got a guy that can stretch. And it's got an invisible lady in it. So it's the Fantastic Four, right? I mean, that's what people have been talking about on the internet, that it's the Fantastic Four.
Yes. Yeah. It was just announced Doc Shaner would be the second artist on the Terrifics. With Ivan Rice, yeah.
Oh, see, that's gonna be good.
First art followed by Shaner, yeah, because he did the cover art or the sample art. I'm not sure what you call it, where they draw the characters to show everybody.
Right. I saw him doing a sampling of that and whatnot. I'm super stoked for that. I think that's. I mean, the only apprehension I have is, despite Black Hammer being about superheroes, and it is awesome. It won an Eisner, so clearly it's good stuff. Yeah. I'm not as excited about. I mean, I'm very hot and cold on Jeff Lemire's superhero writing stuff. But I'm excited to see those characters. That's quite a motley group of characters. So I'm curious to see what they do with that. I don't know. Is that officially spin out of the metal stuff, or is that just something they're going to do down the road? I'm not exactly sure how that ties in, but I'm stoked for that.
What I'm seeing, it says for the Dark Matter line is what they say.
Because I know they're putting out a bunch of new books. They're putting out like 4 or 5 new books with totally new characters. Some of them with totally new characters and stuff that spin out of that dimension, the dark dimension, the metal dark dimension, whatever the hell that is, whatever planet that are. Earth M or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'm excited by that. What else we got?
There's going to be a Death of Superman, Reign of Superman, 2-movie adaptation for
animated.
Animated. Thank you. Okay. Animated. Yeah. So.
Well.
I mean. I'm trying to think also with that.
I know with all of the dark matter stuff or whatever they're calling it, that entire line, they're sticking with the $2.99. They're really doubling down on that price point. So that's cool.
Did you was it you guys talking about Duke and Duke's getting his own book?
Oh yes, Duke is the Signal, right? Is his name official code name? He officially has his official name. The Signal. He has an ongoing that'll be coming out and whatnot. I know there are people who watch the show and whatnot and otherwise who hate Duke. I'm not a big Duke fan. I'm not a big Duke fan, just like I'm not a Tim Drake fan. I just don't understand how these young guys can suddenly be these uber detectives above and beyond, questionably better detectives than Batman is. I don't buy that. I don't like that shenanigans or whatever. But I will say this. I think the guy deserves a comic book just as much, or a space just as much as what Tim Drake does. So if Tim Drake gets to have oxygen in the DC universe, there's no reason that Duke shouldn't either. And if we want to look at it from a perspective of representation, which we talked a little about when we were offline, clearly he has different representation, right? I mean, he is an African American, so kudos there. I don't know who's doing that book though. I would it would be awesome if it actually had African Americans doing the book too. That would be cool. But so I'm not excited. It's not a book I am going to get because like I said, I don't care for Duke, just like I don't care for Tim Drake. I just don't like either one of those characters. So I dislike that so much that I actually put it out of my mind after having a, I don't know,
huge discussion. Yeah.
Huge discussion on Twitter about it. I already blocked that out of my mind. So that's funny.
DC Young Animal characters are going to have a 4-part crossover into the main continuity.
Yeah, they're gonna I know they're like Doom Patrol is gonna rub elbows with the Justice League.
I kind of like Kid Carson's getting there though. Don't this last issue we just read felt like it was really toward Justice League, anyways. You know.
Yeah, I just don't know how is Doom Patrol gonna catch up to make that happen. I mean, they're so far behind right now. They're trying to they're trying to get the next arc done. How are they gonna fit in somewhere unless somebody else does it? How
I'm thinking that's what it is. Because I think it's a 4-part where it's going to be just a self-contained storyline.
Yeah, yeah. So is that what it's going to be? It's going to be its own thing. So it's
I believe so. Yeah, that way I don't know how in continuity it'll be. So
yeah. So I'm glancing at the comments and Funkmaster Celia, good to see you back, Celia. Is asking. They're saying that she's really excited about the team book. Is it the Terrifics? Is that what you're? I'm just curious, is that the team book you're talking about? Because I'm stoked about that team book too, with Mr. Terrific and Plastic Man and Metamorpho and Phantom Lady. That's gonna be fun.
Especially good Metamorpho. I mean,
sweet. Yep, that's what I'm talking about.
Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Book that I was reading, and that was nice, but it would be good to see him interact with people.
Well, and how they're gonna use him? Are they gonna write him more like that version of the character? Because I've seen versions of Metamorpho where he's much more kind of out of control and more on the violent side of things. And I've also seen him where he's kind of like he's more closer to the he's more to like the punchline. Like there's a straight man, he's the other person. Like in The Outsiders, he was always kind of the goofier kind of guy. But they have Plastic Man on the team. And it's hard not to see Plastic Man as not being the goofball on it.
Yeah.
And it's curious because both of them have some properties that are the same. So anyway, that's gonna be an interesting book. I definitely plan on picking that up. Definitely stoked for that. So
there's talk that Shazam may be in production.
That's what I heard, and that supposedly Dwayne Johnson's got nothing to do anymore. The Rock's not on it.
Yeah, which would make sense because I mean, whoever does it, I mean, it should be Billy Batson as a kid and then Shazam.
Right.
And I know if you throw The Rock in, it's all about Black Adam instead. So
I'm okay with that. I'd watch a Black Adam movie any day. But and I do know today they put out another trailer for the Justice League movie, which comes out in November. So if you want to get another taste of that, I've watched it, but I won't watch it again. I don't need to watch it. I know I'm going to see that. So
Young Justice, the animated TV show. I mean, we're getting closer to that. They started posting what characters are going to be on there.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited for that, except for the fact that the only format is going to be some sort of streaming through a DC app of some sort. I'm not excited by that. So.
Oh, all right. I thought it was all right. I might have that. With all my digital garbage, I think I may have actually got that app.
Yeah, I don't know. So.
All right. And that's the only thing that I can really think of.
Cool. I can't think of anything else. So it must not be too important, right? So.
Right. People in the comments will correct us as always.
Well, we missed something. Yeah. Not a problem. All righty. Gonna talk some independent books. Let's just jump right into whatever is there. What do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about Kill or Be Killed? that was the last week's book, but we can certainly talk about it.
Yes, I know it was last week's book, but oh my god, it's so crazy.
Right. It was definitely a holy shit kind of a thing.
Yeah. That's why I was up so quick. I was like, let's talk about it.
Yes.
I can't believe it. Like, and he's like now.
So he's off his meds?
Yeah, he's off his meds. Kira confronted him, and he's such in denial. Like, he still is like, well, it can't be that, you know.
Except for at the very end.
Yeah. And like, oh my God, we realized that this whole time that demon was a figment of imagination or something he created from looking at his father's, or manifested from looking at his father's old illustrations. And one, okay, he's furious, obviously, because his girlfriend, Daisy, took all those photos from his father's basement, and he didn't know about it, even though she was doing it to be, you know, trying to, you know,
sure,
make him happy, doing something.
Right. Because his dad in the 50s and 60s, illustrator. The only work he could really find was basically doing the cover illustrations for, kind of adult fantasy type stuff. So it's that kind of blue book, kind of verging on pornographic type stuff. That's what, and so it's all this stuff's been hidden in the basement. It's stuff as a kid when he was growing up. They didn't have Playboy sitting around, but they had his dad's covers. So it was all that kind of stuff. You know, so he's not totally embarrassed by it, but at the same time, kind of. His dad hated it. From his understanding, is his dad never was proud of that work that he did. It's just what paid the bills. So suddenly, the girlfriend is throwing all this stuff up on the walls.
He lied to her about the origins too, so she didn't really even know.
Sure. So he's all stressed out over a ton of other stuff anyway too, because the cops are getting closer to finding him and all that kind of stuff. So. Yeah, and he goes to the art gallery. All this stuff's in the art gallery. He's freaking out about that after having been confronted by the ex-girlfriend / best friend.
Who admitted that she still loves him, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, gets there, and lo and behold, one of the pictures that's on the wall literally has the demon that haunted him in the first issue, that harassed him in this issue in particular. In this issue, we got to see a lot more of what seems to be schizophrenic. If you're familiar with how some people have schizophrenia, you're clearly seeing stuff that isn't really there. This demon's actually harassing him. Yeah. Going around telling him who he should be friends with, who he shouldn't be friends with. Forget about that girl. Go kill these people. Don't do that. I mean, which we've not seen that up until now. That the demon has not harassed him. And in this issue, it seems like it's like the equivalent of the devil on his shoulder harassing him all the time, kind of stuff. So this issue really made it feel like that all the stuff he's doing is simply him having a schizophrenic episode, is what it seems to me like. It can't be that simple though. Yeah,
can it explore the other avenues possibly besides schizophrenia, but.
I mean, because when this book first out, we're like, wow, that was really weird. Suddenly there's a demon here. And we're kind of like, okay, that's odd. I don't know if I can buy into this whole he's being made to do it as a demon. Then it's like, well, maybe it's schizophrenic. Well, no, maybe it's really demon. Well, yes, I don't know. It was really, I'm really curious to see where they go with it. Because I just can't imagine it being as simple as that. We're on issue, 10 or whatever this is. And
I look forward to just seeing a whole collective of this, like, sitting back after all this plays out and reading it all over again, seeing if there's anything I missed.
Right.
Like a omnibus of sorts.
I'm wondering, because there has to be some sort of clues as to what that is and whatnot. But we also have to remember this is supposedly an ongoing. This isn't like it's only going to be 12 issues or whatever. Right? My understanding is that they're planning on taking this for a long ways. And like I keep saying, we seem to be nowhere close to where this book started out at. Because when the book first starts out, he's shooting guys left and right like he's some, big badass hitman. And he's clearly not at that point yet. I mean, he's a flake. So it still feels like there's a lot of story to be told.
But there's a lot of doing his character, like from what we saw him originally, now he's just like, and I love how the narration goes too. Like, throughout the whole entire story, we're seeing the narration go, and he's telling us, like, he's letting us know that he is eventually going to get caught.
Yeah.
I like that because it's like it lets you know that. And I even like the little smart clips where he's like, "Oh, that's not very what is it? That's not making me a very sympathetic character, is it?" You know,
Right,
I'm like, "You're right because you're not sympathetic at all. No one likes you."
Right. Which is funny that we're enjoying reading a book
Yeah.
about a guy who really there's not a whole lot about Dylan that's likable.
What's his name? See, I always forget because I don't care about him.
Yeah, it's Dylan. It's Dylan. And the only reason I remember that is because I know a Dylan in my personal life that I don't like. So that's what makes it easy for me.
It makes total sense.
And if that's not his name, in my head that's his name. So
totally, I get it.
Yeah. So it's just kind of funny though that I enjoy reading this, and I do. I mean, I am curious as to what happens to this guy, and it's not just. I mean, I love the art, but it's not just about the art. I'm really curious to see where the hell this goes with this guy and whatnot. And there really isn't any reason I should, because the guy is
horrible.
I don't know if he's despicable, but he really is kind of a dick. I mean, he's just not a likable person. So
his decision making skills are just very skewed. Like he just has the most unreasoning logic to anything else. Like the fact that he wants to break up with Daisy for no real reason. He wants to just go leave, write a letter.
No, he's got a reason now. His reason now is the Russian mob is coming to get him.
No, scattered.
And he figures everybody that's around him is going to get killed. So he's got to cut everybody out of his life. So
I kind of feel like the Russian mob's not going to know who he is. I mean, the guy was a hot-headed Russian who just came out and found him, but I don't think anybody else is going to really find him per se. I don't know. I just have this feeling that the only way they would find him is if
well, the only lead they had to get to him was the pharmacist. And the pharmacist is dead now. So I love the portrayal of those stupid male detectives.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're like coming up this wild ass, methodology that this killer has and stuff that
progressing more.
And it's like it's so far off from what it really is. And the woman who's kind of started the whole thing, the female detective who they've kind of sexistly pushed off to the side is like, these guys are idiots, kind of thing. So yeah,
I like her character because even though we're supposed to be like rooting for her not to catch him, I'm like, I want to see what happens when she does catch him. Like, like, how's that gonna play out for her?
Well, you're sympathetic to her because she's doing her job. She seems to be doing a good job, and she's stuck in a situation where she's in a male dominant workforce where she's not given the time of day.
I know,
kind of a thing. So it's like, oh my God, here's this person who's doesn't have all the pieces, but is kind of putting the pieces together, and everybody else is completely not listening to her. So how is it going to happen that that they're going to get this fixed when no one listens to her? So it makes her sympathetic.
It does.
Yeah. Cool. Alrighty, Mike, you wanted to talk about a Vertigo book from last week?
The American Way.
Yes.
This is definitely good. I mean, I originally sampled it off of one of the other DC books. I was not expecting to enjoy political intrigue so much. I mean, there is the idea that there were these people that were made superheroes to some extent. I mean, our main character can still feel pain, but otherwise he's impervious. He's got some super strength, a jetpack, which is cool. But that he was put up with in a group that had some racist people that when the group decided to start fighting amongst themselves, injured his brother, slashing his back. And, they were superheroes to a certain extent, but they said there was also things where they were fake. Things were set up to make them look a certain way.
They were propped up by the government they're basically a government propaganda machine to kind of, to whatever the United States goals were in the 60s is what they did. I'm gonna have to go back and get there's a trade coming out of the first run of this book, because this issue does a good job of kind of, I think, of painting whatever happened in the stuff that I haven't read. I'm assuming you haven't read it either. So I'm going to go back and actually read that. But clearly it all kind of came apart. They got exposed as frauds. Some of them were, like I said, have real power. Some of them didn't. Some of them were kind of, pitted against each other at some point. The main character has killed somebody at some point who injured his brother. So yeah, all really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Now we're in the 70s and they're kind of trying to pick up their pieces, right?
Yeah. Because I mean, it is the certain interactions on the justification for our main guy on the cover. Like, when he kills somebody, why does he do it? So that when the drug dealer kills somebody in the neighborhood, they're each picking their reasons. Even if they both kill bad guys, doesn't matter why either of them killed the bad guy. They both are, and he's even saying, you think you're a hero, but you didn't go back into the neighborhood until the drug dealer started killing other bad guys. So
well, he was a drug dealer. Yeah, he's not a drug dealer. He's killing drug dealers.
He's killing drug dealers.
Right.
Yeah.
And we find out that he's just out to kill whoever. He just likes killing people. The drug dealers are the easy targets now. He's going to get some weapons and then go on a bigger killing spree kind of a thing. Yeah.
And of course, there's some political intrigue. Somebody they're trying to get to run for a senator spot solely because then she could be a puppet for her former senator of a husband. And she was a superhero that, red, white, and blue, typical
Miss
white housewife.
Miss Mississippi or something like that. They're from the Mississippi anyway, but yeah, something along those lines, right? Who kind of she represented, or they feel like she represented the Confederate South, because they do a lot. They talk a lot about the flag and making sure they keep the flag and Southern gentleman values. I mean, heavily implied. All that kind of. All that kind of stuff.
I mean, we have another faction that's like the Weather Underground, where they're, they're blowing things up and they're trying to be radicalized. And she has evidently some kind of power to create energy, but she also has a physical or psychological need now for maybe painkillers.
For heroin, yeah. So she's taking heroin. Yeah.
So it's just been very interesting. I didn't realize that. I mean, there's a lot of political stuff I tend to stay away from. I'm really interested in this and watching where this goes. I do feel like I got hooked by it. So
yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, and I like all that kind of the political stuff that's in there. Along with that, I think it makes it a really intriguing book, and you can get really deep into that. I think you want to, or not, and I mean, because even beyond the politics, it comes down to some simple kind of stuff too. If you're a superhero, or a vigilante, that whole question, what gives you the right versus somebody else the right? How is it that you can take a life in the supposed name of justice, but this other person who's shotgunning people in the face can't do it? How does that how does that work, kind of thing? So I mean, there's a lot of different moral dilemmas in there that aren't even politically based in that book too. Really good book. I really enjoyed it. Great art, good plotting, that first issue. And like I said, it does a very good job all the way to that first issue of holding our hand enough to understand that there's a history to these heroes that happened in something else, whether we read it or not. Because clearly, like I said, me and Mike haven't read it. I'm going to go back and find the trade and read it. Because I'm curious to read that too.
And while I don't know, or I can't remember the names right now, I still cared about the characters. And I think that was the thing too, is they established very solid stories, and then of course, wrote it so that you actually cared about each storyline, each personal. They got it very personalized very quickly. And I think that's probably the thing that hooked me the most. Yeah.
There's an investment in everybody that's in it and what they got going on, what their own little things are, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Cool. Okay, what else? What else do we want to talk about?
Everybody was Shaolin fighting?
I certainly was.
Yes.
And of course,
dogs.
Yes, and they did not fail. We got at least 3 pages. That's just a one streaming. You could actually cut the panels and lay them end for end as it's just him whirling these awesome dog nunchucks around, just wiping out tons and tons of redneck Nazi.
But wait. Before we start fighting, I still want to say my story. And
Right.
I like how they put a little blurb of everyone like, and you didn't go to her dance class and she ended up becoming a junkie.
Right.
And you didn't like my friend Todd's Facebook page and he ended up going on a crime spree. And it was just the most ridiculous things on this justifications for being mad at him.
Yes.
And he's like, I have offended each and every one of you, but I still have to fight.
I am so sorry. I am so sorry. It's like, oh, sorry means nothing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, it was, sorry, it's just a board game.
Yeah, that was right.
Yes. Just wonderful. I mean, if you're familiar with Shaolin Cowboy at all, this hits all the marks that a Shaolin Cowboy comic typically does. It is full of porn violence. I mean, as far as people getting their heads chopped open, blood flying everywhere, stabbed, mutilated, butchered in every conceivable way. All the scenes are so heavily riddled with lots of microscopic details on the most ridiculous stuff that you would think there'd be no reason why you'd be adding, weird sayings in the background. I mean, you could probably spend an extra 20 minutes just looking at all the signs, all the signage. Mind you, a lot of it is a little on the rude side. But I think it's funny.
I thought it was interesting.
The 13-year-old in me just laughs my ass off at all the genitalia stuff in it. Yeah.
Yeah. The girlfriend, how we thought she was just like abducted, and find out that she's dating the crab for several pages and making all these choices until he finally does this brain thing to her.
Yes. Yes, we find out that she started out that let's see, I met him through Christian Seafood Lovers dating service.
Yes.
Which is funny because all things considered, he ends up becoming seafood. But I mean, it's ridiculous. It's over the top. It's gross. There's such random stuff in it. The Komodo dragons that are walking over the top of all the buildings. Yeah. I mean, I still don't understand that at all.
When those two guys pick up the hand and then they say, like, well, your boyfriend, was that just supposed to be an idiot statement? Like, it must be your boyfriend. Or was that supposed to reference the previous story?
That's the previous story. Those are the dudes that were driving they're driving the car and they throw they're throwing the junk out of the car in the last, in the last story arc. Yeah. Right. And they thought they shot him then because he like kicks a can, it flies up and lands on his finger or whatever, and he's giving him the finger. That's the whole talking about the can and whatnot. Yeah.
All right.
That's the same dudes. That's the same dude from the last arc. Of the.
Yeah. See, I totally missed that. I did, of course, love the ending. It was just so proper and fitting that the family of chickens is going to find out.
Right, because of the whole pig thing. We got the whole rundown of the pigs going to visit their young ones working at the store, and of course they're all being served as food. And of course that's what's going on with the chickens too. They're going to egg sit. Yes. Yeah.
Well, and he just walks into it again. Of course, it was the whole thing on learning from your mistakes and doing this. So he passes by the barbecue place and he passes by the seafood place and
goes into the egg place and it's starting all over again basically. Yes.
For 4 issues, that was perfect. It was a nice storyline.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, like I said, it's so ridiculously over the top, but lots and lots of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. Did anybody read Generation Gone?
Here.
So the new okay, is it Alice? How do you say his first name?
I always say Alice Cott.
Okay, so it's Alice Cott. Okay. New book by Alice Cott. I pick up anything that he does, whether good or bad. Most of the time, lots of times it's just really kind of heavy and strange. And I read it and I go, I'm not even sure how do I digest that. I'll read it again 3 or 4 more times. I like it, but I'm still not 100% sure I got what I read all the time, kind of thing. So I kind of like that. I mean, glutton for punishment when it comes to that sort of stuff. So, you know, I heard new books are coming out by him, so clearly I'm picking them up. So I picked this one up. Art by Andre Lima. Yeah, Arjuo. I don't know. I don't know how you...
Arjun or something like that. I don't know me, so I trying to go off memory, but I know the name.
Right. So, nice, big, thick first issue, $4.99 for the first. Right? $4.99 for the first issue, but it's hefty. It was a hefty first issue, and it is, you know, back to front, you know, comics. I mean, the cover actually has dialogue on it, and that cover is the beginning of it. So, basic premise: we have these three people. We find out that they're hacking into the practice hacking into a government institution. So then they could turn around and basically hack into like Bank of America and steal a bunch of money and become rich and live happy lives instead of being, you know, piss poor millennials that are like working 3 jobs and are miserable. Also, we have this government agency that they're hacking into. It does all kinds of special kinds of secret projects. We get a picture of them working on a project that looks like it's like mech suits, like big giant mech suits. But the guy who's working on that also has this side project where he is using, he believes that that the human genome and humans are just a matter of rearranging some code, and we could be potentially superhumans. So he's written these 3 sets of codes so people can fly and have super strength and do all this stuff and whatnot. And he wants to test it. He's looking for candidates, and he's trying to sell it to the military people. Hey, let's do this. And the military people are like, that sounds cute and all, but let's get back to this whole mech suit thing because we want, you know, power and weapons and whatnot. So the scientist is kind of sneakily doing this on the side. And lo and behold, the scientist has been watching these 3 break into the government institution, and he has decided that they are the prime candidates for his special thing. Right? It's kind of our premise. What do you think, Les?
I actually really enjoyed it. Like, there was moments where you obviously felt like the run-of-the-mill kind of movie, you know, film where, you know, the guy, the scientist is, you know, he has this experiment that he's set on, you know, getting put out there. No one approves it, so he decides to go about in a way where he gets it out there. And this, I mean, again, like it's tropey, but I really enjoyed this. And I loved how thick this was. I mean, 56 pages. I mean, that's a treat for me. And it gave you more inside, I guess, an inside look into these people's these millennials, their drone and very disenchanted life. Like, you got to really feel how boring, how their life is pretty much just being lived day by day. You know, nothing to live for practically. I mean, this one girl's with the guy. She's clearly unhappy with him, but she stays with him out of a need because she knows she's losing her mother. The guy told her that if you don't do this, I'm gonna break up with you. I'm never gonna look back. I mean, he doesn't love her. He doesn't like her.
Right. He is the stereotypical dick boyfriend that you're always going, girl, why are you with this guy? Kind of thing. Yes.
And then he says, well, he's gonna do his share of the money is buy a shitload of Molly. Dude.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, she's talking about curing her mother, trying to cure cancer, you know, helping the homeless, and then living a good life. You know, the other guy's kind of the same kind of a way. And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to get a bunch of Molly and get a bunch of booze. And I'm going to get wasted. And woo, party.
Loose cannon. And they decide to do and trust in him. And then he fishes around on the internet, gets them caught. I mean, they were caught previously, but he fishes a little too long to where they actually start getting hacked. But what I loved about this was that we see this scientist, you know, his plan obviously get foiled by that general. Him, you know, faux apologize. But secretly injecting code into their computers when they hack into the system and to this fake bank accounts, these dummy accounts, and then get injected with this code after they read it when they're hacking, and then they are like spewing black goo from every orifice on their body.
Yeah. This is them after they take on the code. Like, I'm not feeling well.
Yeah.
And then I mean, they're just, it's wicked looking. And of course, the scientist is freaking out because clearly this isn't exactly how he planned it all to go. I mean, and they are wrecked.
It reminds me of the "They're Not Like Us" covers. How and crazy they are. I love it. I loved it. I really like this issue. Like I was like, yeah, okay,
and there's the final page.
Yeah.
Just a giant blur of binary.
I didn't read it because I didn't want to turn to like I didn't want to turn into one of them.
Yeah, it's like. Yeah.
As I'm good.
If I get a fly, let's see here. Yeah, no, good stuff.
Travis.
I really enjoyed it, and it was easy to follow. Nothing about it made my head hurt or me go, "What the hell?" I mean, you clearly. I mean, even when they get dumped at the end of it, you've already been kind of told this is what's not exactly what's going to happen, but there's this code that's supposed to turn them into super people. Mm-hmm. Clearly, it's not gone exactly as planned. Maybe at the very end of it, one of them is up and standing.
Yeah,
but not all of them. So I don't know if they all survived the code or not. But for a COT book, this was very straightforward. It was very. This is what's going to happen, and that's what happened. So I was
Well, you want to talk about the in the room in that one scene where we see the one African American gentleman, looking on his computer. I think that speaks for a little commentary to kind of show how.
Oh yeah.
In this day and age, like this is the things that we focus on, even though our lives may be drone. Like for when he's looking up things online, we see there was a police officer shooting.
Yeah, African American shot after offering help to lost driver. Driver assumed man was going to rob him. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, man,
Yeah. Well, there's no way COT's going to write a book that's not going to have social commentary in it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I like that they put that in there because, it didn't feel super subtle, to be honest. When I read it, I was like, that's not subtle. But I didn't mind that it wasn't, because it needs something that needs to be. I want my books to reflect.
Well, it's right. It's relevant. I would assume it's relevant to the character. I mean, it's
exactly.
I would hope it's relevant to all of us.
Yeah.
But even if it's not relevant to all of us, I would assume it would at least be relevant to an African-American person, what's currently going on in the United States, seemingly not seemingly, what's happening to African-American people as far as them overwhelmingly seeming to get mistakenly shot for no good reason. So why wouldn't that be something that he would be looking into?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoyed that, though. I enjoyed that commentary.
I'm kind of excited because it's potentially superhero-ish.
I know. Doesn't it feel X-Men or something?
So I'm excited by that because I want to read, especially if one of the characters who seems to be a good person decides to take it that route. I've got superpowers. The next logical step, right? If I have superpowers, I should go be a superhero, right? So how does that all work? I'm curious if that's what they do. And I'm curious to read that because I kind of want there to be other superhero books out there that aren't Marvel and DC. So
I'm definitely more excited about this than I was with Alters when I started out.
Yeah,
that was so pandering in some ways,
Yeah. And that to me that just didn't work right, and that's why I dropped it. So
yeah, same here.
But like I said, I was surprised how accessible this book was. I mean, it's not. I'm always. Like I said, I always have an expectation with COTS books that they're going to be, bell ringers, and this one wasn't. This one was very straightforward. So I enjoyed it. Enjoyed it quite a bit. Alrighty. What else? What else we got? Mike, you got any other books?
I picked up number 2 of Clue.
Oh yeah, I want to hear about this.
I see where they're trying to go. I mean, it is the confusing mystery of who did it, who's the murderer, and all that. They quickly start exploring more people, getting more information in the backgrounds, showing you more information. Everybody's found the secret room now. Mr. Body has blackmailing everybody. And 2 of the characters go and they start digging up this information. And to make the book go a little further, they decided to go ahead, and there is 2 police officers who have made it to the house before the river has taken the bridge out. So they are trapped on this island-like location. So it does give you that sense, but they, of course, kill one of the police officers. This now allows you to kill somebody each issue to narrow down the list, and it gives more people more choices. There's also been the introduction of, there was a a flower. Like to me, it appeared like a poppy head. So maybe there's this drug element or something, which made me think of Chew. In Chew, there was this extra idea of, there was another thing going on besides the murders or besides the case. And so it gives it a new sense on, yes, there's this murder mystery, there's more to it, so this could go on further, longer than a 6-issue, 12-issue, or whatever. I don't know that I'm excited by that. I know that I'm supposed to anticipate more with all this because then they find this greenhouse full of these poppy flowers or whatever this is. If that's what's supposed to be getting me more excited, it's not. And I'm finding that I'm just, I don't know. The narrator being the butler who's like, tongue in cheek, the Tim Curry of the book isn't funny to me either. I mean, it's supposed to be, it was much funnier done in the movie. I think I enjoyed the movie, and I thought the comic book format would work out well, and it's not. It just seems to be missing, and I think it's me that I'm not ready to read this, or I would rather read this just in trade. So
no, you're right on that.
Right. So I think I'm gonna wait. I think I might pick it up on trade, or I just maybe won't. It's not catching me. I'm not excited for it, and I don't want to, like I said with Marvel, to pick up a $4 book that I'm not excited for. So
Sure.
I don't blame you. I agree with everything he says. It's just not the movie did better. Like that's why I dropped it after issue 1. I couldn't get with it. I wasn't excited enough for issue 2, but I'm glad to hear that you encounter the same feeling I encountered with issue 1.
Yeah.
2. So I know it's not really.
Yeah, it definitely was more of that because I knew I was supposed to be amused by the narrator, Butler, but I wasn't. I know I'm supposed to be intrigued by this flower, but I'm not. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm not in the mood for it.
It's not you. It's not you. It's the book.
All right. And it doesn't feel like a mystery either. So I don't know. It feels like old bad TV. We used to see all those old bad TV shows, late 80s, early 90s. That's what I feel. It's made for TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't feel like it's original either. Do you feel like that? I feel like it's not. I feel like it directly copies the movie, but tries to pretend like it's not the movie.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Is it wants to capture that, and it's not. And the characters are interesting. They're not quite the carbon copies they should even be. They're the bad guys I don't hate enough. The good people I don't like enough. It really is. It's making me feel everything is blah with it.
Yeah.
Save yourself some money. Clearly.
Yeah, it feels that way.
Totally. Yeah. Alrighty. What else? I want to talk about this.
Right.
Winnebago Graveyard.
I wish I had got to that one, but
Winnebago Graveyard, issue number 2. I'm really continuing to seriously dig the art. Samson's art is just lots and lots of fun in it. This book really captures the whole, early mid 70s horror vibe. The Hills Have Eyes. All that. Sister Satan worshiper kind of. I mean, all those kind of movies really, really well. And I am having fun with it for that. In this issue, they finally find a sheriff in the town. The town seems to be pretty abandoned. They find a sheriff. They report the Winnebago being gone. Then the sheriff doesn't really help them a whole lot beyond that. They stay in a hotel. At the hotel, they quickly discover there's cultists are basically lining up outside to come and do something awful, so they're on the run. So they get chased around basically in this issue by cultists. I wouldn't say lots happens, but visually I just really like it because of the artwork in it. I'm picking up all these horror books, and I'm not like huge super horror fan and whatnot. So I start comparing. Okay, I've got all these horror books. Which ones do I like? Which ones don't I like? I think like the Unsound is my favorite of them. I like the suspense. Because suspense scary better than blood and guts scary. I like in suspense quite a bit, a lot of all of these. I do like this one just because it hits. I say I'm not a fan of those movies, but I've watched most of those kinds of movies, and this just sets in that groove just right that I really like. That I really like it. Like I said, it has to largely do with the art. It just builds the right kind of atmosphere for that. And like Regression, I'm not really into that with the bugs and the whatever. I don't know. It's just that is not hitting the same way. And I think it's the art. I think the art is what some of these books is what's making the difference for me. Whereas like Regression is very bright, right? It's like a lot of white page with some line artwork on it and some bugs running around on it, and then some gory stuff happens. Seems to be Regression for me. Whereas this one, it's all like this. It's all super dark and moody, and it's all it's all atmosphere. It's all, like I said, it's all, to me, feels like, I mean, here's the cultist getting ready to chase them down and whatnot. It's just very moody, very dark, very, I guess what I feel like if you're going to do this kind of horror, this is what it should look like, kind of a thing. They summon up some monster at the end of it to chase them down. They're at this crazy hanging tree, and they get their pentagram out, and they summon up some freaky monster. There's the monster coming up out of the blood. And it's I mean, it's not clear what the hell it is, but that's perfect. It does. I don't want it to be clear. It just needs to be, creepy as it's crawling up out of the blood.
Does not look friendly at all.
No. It's going to be awesome. But, wonderful, wraparound cover, and all those white spots, those are cultist faces hanging off in the dark, looking down on them. So I don't know. I like it.
Love it. Love it.
It's good atmosphere of the kind of thing. I don't think this is very long. 4 or 6 issues, I believe.
I believe it's 4.
Yeah. So for what it is and the style that it is, I will I'll continue on with the 4 issues because it's cool. I don't, kind of thing. It hits the right mark, like I said, but I need to trim back on some of the other.
Won't we be getting Witches back soon?
Oh God, I forgot about Witches. John Snyder.
The Snyder Jock book.
Yeah.
I have no intention of getting that.
Oh, okay.
It was okay. It wasn't bad, but I would
even when it comes, man. That effing coloring. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Guy's a great colorist. That absolutely makes no sense. There's no way you can describe that to me in any way where it makes sense. Anybody who has tried to say, "Oh, it represents this," okay, well, if it represents that there, look at all the other pages that's happening in, and it makes 0 sense. Yeah. I
read it literally Horror County and Witches back to back, and in another book called Portis, and because they all seemingly felt like they were these horror stories with like family or friends fighting against forces of evil. That's why it made sense to me when I read it. But hearing your point of view changes things.
Well, here's my thing. I just don't like the coloring. I love Jock. Yeah, I didn't mind the story. The story was fine. I don't know. I was blown away by it, but I did not. That coloring is so distracting. That random splatter of color across it with no rhyme or reason to it. I mean, he posted on Twitter these big breakdowns of doing it and whatnot, and I'm like, so what? I mean, what's the purpose of that? So
it made sense during the magic, but yeah, you're right. Whenever it was just the family, it should not have been there.
Right. Well, like I said,
I'm still getting it. I'm interested in the story.
Cool. So. The other kind of horror witch book that I am going to pick up is the one that's coming out that Joe DeBelleri, the colorist, is writing, and Del Rey is doing the art on it. It's all women doing the book, and it basically has to do with a sect of witches that basically I think are sick of the shit that gets done to them, and they're going after everybody else. So it's a cult of witches wreaking havoc on everybody else. So I'm going to get that instead. Celia was asking who did the artwork on Winnebago Graveyard. It is Allison Sampson. Allison Sampson, and colors by Stefan Petro. But I really dig it. It's got the right kind of like I said, vibe to it that makes it really cool. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff there. So no, I don't plan on getting witches. That coloring irritated me enough. I wrote it out to the end of that, and I don't care if that ever comes back. I don't know. To me, there doesn't seem to be any more story there that I'm that interested in. So unless somebody pulls it out and says, "Oh my God, it's doing this cool thing" or whatever, then maybe I'll get suckered back into it. But as of right now, I don't. Or whatever kind of thing. So. All right. Any other?
Regression number 2. Since you spoke about it earlier.
Go ahead.
There were some scenes in there that I found pretty intriguing.
Right. So in regression number 2, he has basically woken up, feels sick or whatever, is spacing out a whole bunch. He goes to work and spaces out. And when he spaces out, this other persona is seemingly stomping around. But it looks like it's in him. He went to regression therapy where you go back and look at past lives. And one of these past lives seemingly has got a hold of him. And that past life guy is some
woman, witch, sorcerer.
Well, but he's also like the guy is like some sort of psycho killer himself too. He's like the equivalent of Jack the Ripper, right? But then he ends up while the Jack the Ripper persona has control of his body, he's off dreaming about wandering through London, finding this secret cult, getting to roll around with a bunch of ladies. Looks like at that one point there's some fun stuff going on there. It's like, oh wow, it's some sort of trippy orgy that gets a little intense.
It does, doesn't it? I was like, ooh.
And then there's all the creepy bug stuff going on too.
Yeah, that was kind of creepy, but totally made the moment sour for me. But prior to,
yeah, it's like, ooh, this is getting all it's getting all. What's the name of that Tom Cruise movie with Nicole Kidman?
Eyes Wide
Eyes Wide Open or Eyes Wide Shut. Yeah, Eyes Wide Shut has some moments that are like that, and you're going, wow, this is getting kind of interesting. And then the bugs come pouring out. You're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. But you know what? I wanted to say this book reminded me so much of that first short story in Packless, where I was talking about he kept having this I guess, I don't know if it's hallucinations or of sort, where he was a bug and his was a bug. It was so much. It was just like reading Packless, that one portion of Packless issue 1, and then reading this issue of Regression. I was like, oh, I'm having bug overload this year. I don't want no more bugs.
Yeah,
I don't like it. So I mean, there was, like I said, some interesting scenes. I did like where he confronted his boss, because his boss was, talking crazy to him, and he let him know, like, you pissing your pants after, because the guy was cussing at him, telling him how he wasn't going to pay him for this last hour because he nodded away. And then he just somehow got the courage to stand up for himself back to the boss, and like puts like some kind of wrench or something, some kind of like tweeze, what do you call them? Pliers to the guy's face, like he's going to stab the guy. And the guy pisses himself, and he's like, oh yeah, it was punishment enough smelling a piss, like, drink your trousers. And then he walked away. I was like, wow.
Yeah, but that's even kind of slipping. That's that other kind of serial killer personality kind of taking hold on him and stuff. Yeah.
He's just going through emotions, it seems, that from this point, like, he's not himself. And the girl, I think he's going to do something to that girl. I think she's going to end up hurt.
Yeah. So are you going to keep reading it then?
Ooh, I'm tempted in some regards, because I want to know what happens to that girl. But then at the same time, you're right, it's not one of my favorite horror books. Like, Gone Sound is a lot more intriguing to me. I gotta think on that.
Yeah, I've got one more issue coming to me, that I have pre-ordered. But I don't think I ordered it last issue. So if I'm suddenly blown away by issue 3, I'll be scrambling to try and pick up, a few issues in between, because those are books I'm almost positive I will not be able to walk to my comic book store and pick up. That's not the kind of stuff that they carry. So, yeah. So anyway, any other books you want to talk about? What else we got?
Did you read Black Cloud number 3?
Yes, I did.
What do you think?
3 or is it 4?
Is it 3?
I can't remember if the last one was.
I thought it was number 3 because she's pretty much goes like it's like she's beside herself watching like a flashback of how this war was waged against older.
Oh, sure, right, okay, so that is issue 3. So have you read issue 4 yet then?
I thought issue 4 didn't come out yet. I guess I'm behind then.
Yeah, I think last week issue.
I thought last week was issue 3. Well,
so the issue you just read shows her putting on that armor, and she has like the lightning bolt kind of sword, whatever thing, and she ends up killing that monster.
Okay. Yep. Didn't. I don't recall.
Nope. Yeah, because yeah, issue 4. So let's see.
I've been out of the mix.
Sure. So is this the cover of the one you just read?
Yep, that's the cover I just read.
Okay, that's 3. 4 is actually came out last week.
Darn it. I went back issue, didn't I?
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So you read 3. 3
Yeah.
kind of 3 is where this whole series turned around for me. I've been kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I like the art, but I don't know the stories really here. To me, 3 kind of cemented this is kind of what's going on. There was this big power struggle. She was part of the revolution. She was kind of on the hype. That Frank guy, kind of, the two of them got each other hyped up, and they're talking revolution, and then suddenly they quit talking and they actually did it. And clearly, the second they did it, the second they ended the reign, then it was like, uh-oh.
Yep.
This isn't what we wanted, kind of thing. And she runs.
And she ended up getting exiled, which I thought was
right.
Yeah, because we knew something happened there, but we didn't know exactly what. So knowing that, and that she stood up against those old beings and somehow was able to leak certain things into their world, or vice versa. Now she's been exiled. She's still somehow able to maneuver into two different worlds.
Yeah, because she still has power. She still has power in the kind of like the dream world or whatever. This is the reality. Well, issue 4, you gotta get on issue 4, because issue 4, she's back there again. Those cats at the very end of the issue have showed up, and they're kind of saying, "Hey, you're back."
Yeah.
Well, those cats are part of her old army, and they're not real keen on the fact that she just kind of, killed the hierarchy and then ditched them. So there's some exciting stuff goes on in the next issue. I really like the series now. Like I said, if you would issue 1, I was like, I don't know. Issue 2, I still like. Issue 3 really kind of cemented it.
Todd. You saw how he grew to exponential size, like he was.
Todd, yes.
People and stuff, like what?
Yeah.
He was a cannibal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It went left crazy. I was like, I like the first issue. Second issue is a little bit, but I said, let me go ahead and persevere with 3.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like. When I got 3, I got really excited about it. It's kind of like all of a sudden the idea what the story's about. I'm like, okay, I know kind of what's going on now. I can get behind whatever else is going on in it and just kind of go along. So I really, really enjoy it. I'm looking forward to the next issue. So
yeah, same here. What about Sisters of Sorrow then?
Sisters of Sorrow? Did you read this?
Issue number 1.
So yeah, issue number 1 of Sisters of Sorrow, written by, or story idea. I don't know if it's really written by him, but story idea by one of the guys who is behind the Son of Anarchy, Courtney Alamanda. I think actually probably writes the actual script itself, I would guess. I love the cover, the jolly cover and whatnot. We don't get to see them dressed up as nuns in this issue, though. I don't know. I read it. It was okay. It felt like I was reading an action movie kind of a thing. And I've only seen like the setup for the movie, not the real movie itself. When we get to the juicy stuff, starts out in a shelter for abused women. Some dude shows up, he's tracked down where his wife is at, tries breaking into the place. In the process of him shooting through the door, he ends up killing his wife. They end up killing him. They can't report the murders to the cops because they're all people of color, and the only dead people are white people. They figure if they report to the cops, they're going to be in trouble. We find out that one of these women that's abused, her ex is a cop, seemingly an abusive guy himself. One of the girls has a brother. They call him to help out. He is like a priest, or he's at least dressed like a priest.
Mm-hmm.
He helps clean up the problem. Basically, they plant the bodies back at the ex's house, and it looks like it was a kidnapping, murder, suicide kind of thing. Cops question them. They seem fine. And they decide, hey, we can kill one person. Let's kill a bunch more people. And so they're going to kill off. The cop goes free. The cop that was charged with abusing this woman, and he was charged with vehicular manslaughter, it sounds like, because they were in a car chase and they crashed and their daughter died. They end up seeking revenge on him. They trick him out into the middle of nowhere in a warehouse district, and they murder him. Cool. And now they're going to murder more people. I don't know. What did you think about it?
I love how they're trying to empower themselves.
Right.
I really do. I saw that's where the premise wanted to go, but it feels. I feel like I'm watching a more steroided out version of Enough with Jennifer Lopez. Like, I feel like that movie. Like, I feel like I'm watching one of those kind of movies, but reading in comic form. And for me, I read it before.
Yeah.
I've seen it before. It didn't seem original. The camaraderie between the women just didn't seem real because it was so rushed. We went straight to killing. I don't know. I didn't really care for it. It didn't.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm too. I want to support it, but because the idea of the empowerment end of it, women going, you know what, I'm sick of this, taking it back. I like the idea, when I first read the solicit for it. Oh wow, these vigilante women who dress up as nuns and go around, whacking people. I can get behind that because to me it sounded like it was almost going to be more along the lines of a grinder house, like a grinder house type thing, where it was going to be really, really over the top as far as these nuns, like it'd be a Tarantino version of kind of that kind of or Robbie, what's his face, that
Rodriguez.
Yeah, right. I kind of thought it was gonna be that kind of a story comic book with these, like I said, women dressed up as nuns, seeking revenge. And at some point maybe that's gonna happen, but right now it's not happening. Right now, I mean, they're vigilante in the fact they tricked one of their abusers off and whacked him, but it was I mean, I
don't know if I think I have it in me to read number 2. It's based off of issue 1. Like, I don't know if I have enough interest.
Because the way there are comics, I'll for sure be getting number 2 at least, but I'm not ordering the rest of them. It didn't, like I said, it didn't do enough for me. It didn't have enough of its own panache to make me think I wanted to keep getting it. Unfortunately. So Lazarus X plus 66. This is a 6-issue miniseries. It's a spin-off of the regular Lazarus book because the Lazarus book is taking a break. Lark, the artist, needed to just kind of replenish everything because of how much he's been working on the book and just kind of needed to take a break. So in the meantime, we're getting some kind of spin-off stories. I don't think that each issue is going to concentrate on the same character, but this issue concentrates on this redhead. I'm drawing a blank on her name. She is part of the waste in the Lazarus world. Waste are the common person who has no real value. They're actually referred to as waste when they count the population. She ends up getting herself involved with Forever. The Lazarus, she ends up kind of being tied into her, makes kind of some of the right decisions, and Lazarus, the Lazarus, Forever feels for her in a way and ends up giving her help by getting her into the military. And once in the military, she does some heroics and gets herself greenlit to go be part of the Daggers. And the Daggers are like the elite super ops of the Carlisle family. They're like the Uber SEAL 6 kind of people and whatnot. And so this is kind of her going through that process, them kind of showing how that process works. They start out with 100 candidates. Only 1% basically makes it through of the 100 candidates, kind of a thing, almost kind of a deal. and her going through that process, and how hard it is, and all that kind of stuff is kind of what it is. It was a fine book, not necessarily something that is needed for the Lazarus story itself, but it does a decent job of kind of wetting your whistle on what this world is like and keep reading Lazarus type material while we wait for the regular book to come back. So it was fine, but it was not mind blowing in any way. But I still enjoyed it because I like, as depressing and dark and how close it is to our real world. I do like reading the Lazarus book. It's one of those kind of thing where I read it and go, oh my God, this is so horrible. There's no way this could happen. And now we have a president that basically wants to run the United States like a corporation. So clearly we're a lot closer to the world of Lazarus than what I would have liked to have believed.
We definitely are. I love Lazarus. I actually had that on my read list to get to next, and I just didn't get to it. But yeah, I love the world of Lazarus. It's just so crazy. It's
yeah, highly recommended if you haven't been picking up in singles. Go get the trades. There's plenty of them out there. Pick them up from the library, whatever. Read them. They're good stuff. Good stuff. Depressing. The world is depressing. The idea that this kind of 7 or 8 really rich corporation families control the entire world, and if you don't have really, really good, useful skills, you're waste. I mean, that's literally how they refer to you when they count the population. You're waste. Serfs are people who have high skills that are of value, and then there's the family members. So it's a depressing kind of thing, but it's so good, so good. All right. Any others? Anything else you want to talk about?
Royal City, number 5.
Royal City, number 5. The dad issue.
Yeah, I like seeing more from him. I like seeing him, pretty much troll through like a purgatory of sorts with Tommy, and then be able to kind of see, like peer into what's going on, like in actuality, what's going on in the world. Yeah, seeing what's the one wayward son? His name. He sees him stealing from him, and he's directing Tommy to tell him what radios to take. That's of more value. So, because he's like, like Tommy's telling him, like, you don't have to steal from him. He would give it to you. And the guy's like, I don't care. I need to get some money. And then Dad's like, well, tell him to get this radio and that one, because that one's more valuable. And I'm like, even in sickness, this guy's still, helping his son. Like, this is phenomenal. Like, this family bond, they're much stronger than they believe. And they feel like they're apart, but really they're so much together than they really, I guess knew, so I like seeing that. I like seeing, is her name Tara? I don't know why I want to call her Tara. The one who's a real estate agent who's trying to that one deal. Yeah, we see her, kind of talking to Tommy, the version of her Tommy, and saying that, she feels like she's embarrassed to come back home and live with the mom.
Well, she's 44. She's 44, and she's moving back into her teenage room in her parents' house. So yeah. Not a milestone for most people, I wouldn't think. So, yeah.
I really like this issue a lot. Seeing the wife suddenly quit the movie, so we don't know what's going on there. But she quit the movie. She wants the husband to come pick her up. The writer.
Oh, right, the writer. They had this last issue. They had this, kind of falling out, but at the same time, coming to an understanding that clearly they're going separate ways, and probably it's done. You really get the feeling that their marriage is done, and chances are, I kind of thought in my head, we're probably never gonna see her again, because
that's what I thought,
and suddenly she's there. So clearly somewhere, it's like, no, this is more important. My marriage and this person is more important. So she's, my father-in-law is in a coma. She drops everything, quits the movie, takes off. She's not sure if she can actually quit or not because of the contract, but she's there. She's suddenly there. Come get me. This issue, whereas last issue was kind of like, oh my gosh, everything's raining, everybody's parade. This issue, in a lot of ways, was uplifting in a lot of ways, because Dad, he flatlines. He does this kind of follow the family around kind of thing, and then ends up having to go back to his body. Kind of thing. He ends up waking up and whatnot. I love this issue also because he goes to the Tommy that's hanging with his wife. The Tommy that's hanging with his wife is, of course, a priest, and his wife is getting out of the car to go to the motel room to continue the affair that clearly she has been having for a very long time. She's been having this affair with this other guy. And it's like, you know, Tommy's like, oh man, I'm sorry, we ended up seeing this. And he's like, yeah, I kind of knew, kind of thing. But what I'm deeply fascinated by, mom's psychosis, right? Mom, last issue, did the whole baptism thing, and it was the drowning boy above him that was raining and dripping down the baptism water, which is a fabulous image. And with this, it just cements in that here she is. She's an adulterer, right? I mean, she's having an affair, and her version of her dead son is an adult priest.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Oh, the guilt that has to be there, right? I mean, isn't that like some extra guilty kind of thing that your version of your perfect son is, and you're doing this? I don't know. I mean,
And then we find out later on that Mr. Ryder is the uncle of this unknown child that we don't know where this child's come from, who this child is.
So
I'm like, okay,
whose kid is that? Is that the drunk? Is that the addict? Is that his kids? Or right? I mean, yeah, good stuff. I mean, last 2 issues have been so super solid. And this is the end. This is the end of an arc. We're gonna have a big break, and then we're gonna come back, and it's gonna tell a story about 1993, which is the year that Tommy drowns.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's gonna be very music centric. It's gonna be kind of, because I know there's a whole bunch of variant covers that are coming out that are that look like the covers of
albums.
Music like Hole and Sonic Youth and some of the other stuff. So it'll be all kind of cool and whatnot. So
they probably do like a Linkin Park tribute since Chester Bennington is unfortunately not with us.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I'm looking. Ryan's in the comment section now. So he's asking, speaking of Purgatory, he wants to know as if you picked up the new Gary Panter book.
Nope, I haven't picked up a new Gary Panter. I was looking it over though.
Yeah, he figured if anyone picked up, it'd be you that picked it up.
Yeah, I was looking it over. I was like, I'm gonna pick it up. Eventually, there's a lot of books right now that I need to pick. I need to go and pick them up, like Slasher. I need to pick up 2 and 3 of those. That one, and then I need to pick up the rest of my issues of Cinnamon Purgatorio from Avatar Press that I have been slacking on. I love anthologies too.
Yeah, and he's saying about the he will say this for Lemire's double cliffhanger in this issue. The first one is more surprising than the second one. The second one, in fact, was kind of a letdown since I figured it was going to be his kid, not his nephew. But
I thought so too. I was like, I thought it was gonna be his kid, but when the fact that he's like, you're my uncle, I was like, okay, what is going on?
Well, and she has dark hair, so I don't know if the assumption is that she's the other brother.
Yeah, that's why I was so confused. I'm like, what's going? Yeah, like maybe it could be Tom. No, Tommy's long gone, so it couldn't be Tommy. It has to be the. Yeah,
Tommy died as a kid, so.
Yeah, so it could be the Wayward Son then.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's him. It has to be him. He's dark hair.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out how that all works on up. But for me, like I said, my favorite part was just contemplating the stuff with mom and the affair and the fact that she's, her version of Tommy is a priest, and I don't know, that whole aspect of it just deeply intriguing. So
yeah, I love all that part. I love seeing how the whole dynamic works with, what her beliefs are and the vision she has of her son and how she is in actuality. All the merging of it, I really enjoy it.
Yeah. Yep. Good stuff. Alrighty. Anything else you want to talk about?
My last book is World Reader, issue number 3.
Nice. That came out last week. Yeah.
Yeah. I was we get more into this monster, we know now what he's after. He's after some particular item. Now we now know it's not just, ridding the world of all these lives, but now it's to actually obtain some object of some sort. We don't know what the object is, but we know this last plan that her and this guy who pretty much committed mutiny with her we know that her partner, while he's like, you know, flirting with her while they're trying to investigate this so-called dead planet, she lets the planet take her, and kind of she explores it with her powers and finds out that this world died like so many others before her, simply because they allowed this one symbol to embody what they believe to be their god, and they have religious wars, you know, and so apparently all the worlds that she's explored has had the same situation occur every single time in the same way, so in the same manner. So I guess that was pretty cool. I don't know, I don't feel like I care about the book. Like, I read it, I liked knowing more about why this creature is killing, but I don't feel like I have enough to keep me going, you know? Like, I want to like it so bad, I want to keep going with it, but I don't feel like I don't care, you know?
Yeah. I'm not completely at that point. I find some of the characters fun. You know, her partner in crime now, you know, he's amusing because he's, you know, he thinks they're all going to die in a second. So there's some funny kind of quasi, you know, Scooby-Doo. I understand how horror movies work. But here we are walking around in the dark anyway, kind of moments that I thought were kind of, some of his lines around that I thought were funny, you know, and him, you know, trying to get that kiss or whatever, because you know, we're all going to die. So can I call this a date? Seems that we're going to die. Can I call this a date?
I love his banter. I love his banter. I do.
Yeah. So, I mean, so that part of it was fun. That issue, the artwork in it gets to a point where it gets so kind of whirling and craziness. You're not even 100% sure what's going on, or is there a panel here, or is there a way I'm supposed to be looking at this? And I mean, it's just this kind of swirl of color, which looks pretty for me because it's purples and violets, and I like those colors.
Yeah.
So it's good for an acid trip, I guess, but I don't know that it tells me anything story-wise.
Well, that's what I'm not saying anything else that we got in previous issues. So it's like, do I keep going on with this or not, you know?
Right. And I totally see that. It's not really giving us a whole lot. I'm going to finish it out. I figure it's not very many more issues, and it's probably done, I would guess. I mean, there's just bits and pieces that I'm intrigued by, but yeah, it's not anything that I would recommend to anybody else to read. I'm like, oh my gosh, go out and read this or whatever. Yeah. You know, at this point, because yeah, there were pages that to me just seemed like, well, this is just lots of pretty colors. And I really can't say anything else about it. So I can only take so much of that if the rest of the story doesn't hold it up, and I don't know that it is. So, yeah. For sure. Alrighty. Any other books we want to talk about? Indie-ish type news. I do know at San Diego Comic-Con, they did Karen Berger books got introduced. That is through Dark Horse. It's kind of her own imprint. Okay, I don't want to get these confused because there's also Black Crown books from IDW, and that's done by Shelley Bond, both editors from Vertigo. Karen Berger, of course, basically created the Vertigo line. And then Shelley Bond kind of took over the Vertigo line for quite some time and whatnot. So, you know, the two of them have the kind of the same history of putting creators together to make interesting books and whatnot. And now I'm not 100% sure which one of those two imprints is doing which books. I know that one of them is doing, it's actually a shared universe, and I can't remember if it's the Berger one or if it's the, see if I can look here real quick. I can't remember which it is. If it's the Berger books or if it's the Black Crown books. But it's going to actually be in some sense, a shared universe. So I don't know exactly, you know, how that's going to work out for sure. I know the first book is, it's entitled Kid Lobotomy. It is written by Peter Mulligan, art by Tess Flower. Oh yeah. I'm gonna get it.
I love Peter Mulligan.
Okay, so Ryan's helping me out. It's Shelley Bond's Black Crown is the shared universe, and it's IDW owned.
He goes crazy. Like, I hope he goes crazy.
Well,
him in his old form.
Yeah. So the premise of that book is for Kid Lobotomy is it's a former rock star living in a haunted hotel. That's the basic
Premise.
So Ryan's saying it's not creator owned because it's IDW. So I don't know exactly how their contracts work. Ryan might have a better idea of how, if he does, of how those contracts work.
I noticed. I noticed that IDW does a lot of licensed stuff.
Oh, sure they do.
Original series.
But they have. I can't imagine the creator would do anything for them that's original work that they're not going to have some level of control over.
Yeah, I feel like they would output some. I mean, because some of these stories I've been reading from IDW have been they at least appear to be original, and they're
original. But I don't know what the contract says as to how much they own it, how much the people who are producing it, how much they own, media rights, or at some point does the book fall back to them, or all the bits and pieces. So we won't call it creator owned. I guess we'll just call it small press, independent stuff, whatever. I'm going to start trying to practice with people with calling creator owned, and I don't know, independent, because there's a difference between the two. And I feel like sometimes I need to talk about them in that way. But anyway, so I'm excited for both of those imprints.
Yeah.
Both of those editors are have excellent track records of producing some really great stuff. So I'm really curious to see what all comes out of that. It's a Peter Milligan written book. I'm going to buy it pretty much sight unseen. I try everything that he does. I'm intrigued by that premise, so that makes me more interested in it. So Ryan says that he doesn't know how they're going to work them for this imprint, but IDW does not do much wholly creator-owned stuff apart from the top shelf. We'll see. Once the book comes out, we can start looking at the small little, print down there at the bottom, and that'll give us some sense of exactly, in some ways, who owns what or whatever. So, yeah. So yeah, I'm excited for both of those things. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't remember like Image in particular announcing anything. They typically don't during San Diego Comic-Con anymore. They do their own thing.
Wasn't Robert Kirkman saying that the end is nigh? Walking Dead does have an ending, and he's working his way towards it.
No.
A while though.
No. He says that's clickbait, and you shouldn't read the clickbait, Mike.
Okay.
Walking Dead is not ending. He knows how it is going to end.
The comic.
Right.
Yeah, the comic.
Yeah.
He knows how he wants it to end. It is not ending.
All right.
If that makes sense. So as a writer, he knows what he wants the end game to be. He is nowhere near that.
All right.
And he got really pissed. And he was on Twitter quite a bit, ranting and raving about people not, people took him saying that one website took him as saying, I know how it's going to end, basically kind of answering somebody's question of like, yeah, I know how it's going to end, for, oh my God, it's going to end.
All right.
Why would he ever stop that cash cow?
Yeah.
I'm just saying from a purely I like money standpoint, I don't know. I mean, maybe he's got lots of money anyway at this point and he doesn't have to worry about it, but yeah, he has an ending. It's not ending. So
all right.
Yeah. I got suckered on that too, because I saw people tweeting about it. I'm like, holy crap. I turned to my kids and go, wow, Walking Dead's ending. And they went, what? The TV show? And I go, no, the comic book. And they're like, oh, okay, Dad. And then a little later, I saw him on going, no, this is not,
We'll be like 80 when it's still going on.
Probably, right? So.
That was great.
I can't, like I said, can't think of anything else in particular. So, yeah, I guess that's it. Unless we have something else we want to talk about. No? Okay. Well, thanks guys for coming on.
Yay, thanks for having me.
Yep. And maybe we'll be back next week, unless we decide we're taking another day off for some other reason or whatever. I have no idea what's coming out next week. I haven't looked. I need to go and order my comic books for this month, but I got to get on that too. But I'm sure I'll be back with at least 15 books. I don't know. I never see a poll that's smaller than that. So anyway, have a good evening, everybody. Thank you all for watching. Thank you those of you who were in the comments and talked to us tonight. Always appreciated. Those of you who hung with us and watched the show, awesome. Thank you very much. Let us know what we're doing right. Let us know what we're doing wrong. Let us know what you'd like us to talk about more. We'll see what we can do. I mean, it's our show. We do what we want, but you know, we occasionally like to be, you know, trade painted monkeys. So Mike has to earn his wages, and so does Rez. You know, with that new contract they got.
Yep.
They need to work it. So we'll be back next week to do that. Have a great night, everybody, and see you next time.